I'm Kara Scott, and with me is Nick Wealthall.
Hello.
Hello, and we're here for the next 4 hours. It's Friday night. What better way to spend it
Friday
than with us
night.
talking a bit of poker?
Perhaps with something cold, like your wife.
Nice.
No, a drink.
A cold drink, yeah, not such a bad idea as well. And we're here with you. Hopefully you're not going to be feeling too cold, and you will be letting us know what you think of the show and any of your poker questions and queries as well. We're here to answer all of them, or in fact, Nick is here as the expert to answer your questions. There are a couple of ways you can get in touch with us here in the studio.
Funny, every time you say it, that.
I know, isn't it? Isn't it sweet?
Nick the expert, so you're fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Fine.
Put your poker lives
If I
in
don't
his
know,
hands.
I can look it up on the internet, so...
Yeah, off camera. They'll never know.
It'd be easy.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Or I could tell you, because I'm not so bad anymore. Right, the first way you can get in touch with us is by
Not so bad
text
anymore.
message. You can text us. Text the word poker and your question to 84222. Or you can email us as well. Tell us a bit of what you're doing. Poker shoutouts. It's the weekend
Friday
again.
night we do poker shoutouts.
We do. Friday night poker shoutouts. And of course, take a look at the website as well if you've got any questions about poker in general, or you just want to learn a little bit more about the show.
Has anyone successfully combined a barbecue and a poker game? I think summer poker. Has anyone successfully combined punting down a river and a poker game?
Ah, or have you managed to overcome the difficulty of the glare on the computer screen and actually sat with your laptop on the beach playing
Yes,
poker?
now, as you know, this is a major
sad.
life problem for me.
I know. I know, you are still thinking of a way to, something to invent to shade the screen. I'm thinking an umbrella might actually work there, but it's a radical idea. I don't know. On the
That
beach
would
with an
actually
umbrella.
work, wouldn't it?
It would.
I've been foolish.
You have been incredibly foolish.
I mean, I've been trying to design like little bivouacs to go over the top, but unfortunately, I got like 22% in my craft design technology exam when I was young. Hasn't worked.
No, it hasn't worked.
No.
Oh, well. Right now, it's your favorite bit of the show. We're going to go around the tables and see what games we've got for you tonight.
Brilliant. This is excellent because we get to see what games we've got tonight. This is a $10 sit and go. I should please don't get too excited because you will only see one of these 4 games. Think of this as, you know that bit of the movies when they put on bits from films that you're not actually seeing?
This is, yeah, the trailers for what you
go,
may see, but you might not.
I wish I was watching that.
No.
And not this thing that a girl's taken me to see. Something about shoes or something.
Shoes or something.
In Her Shoes. Did you see that film with Cameron Diaz?
On the plane.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was a bit bad, wasn't it?
That was a $20 sit and go. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a 25-cent, 50-cent cash game.
Yes, it is. Indeed, it is.
Very cleverly reinforcing when I do my job well.
Thank you.
And shutting up when I do it badly.
Yes.
This is the Poker Player Shootout.
Oh.
Now, this is exciting. Very good promotion from the boys at Poker Player. I'm not biased.
Because you work there.
I don't work there. I
You write for them.
write nonsense in their mag.
Yes.
But it is a good promotion because it's completely free. And you can win your share of £1,000 on the night.
Yeah.
And the winner of tonight's Poker Player Shootout comes and plays live in the Poker Zone studio behind us here in the Poker Bowl.
Okay. Is it a straight freeze out, or are there rebuys or add-ons?
Kara, what it is a shootout. Now.
Oh, I see.
Now, that means we play a series of one-table tournaments.
Right.
In like a knockout stage, like a tiered system.
Oh, I see. So not an MTT.
No. No, although it's a tournament with lots of people in it.
Yes.
With one winner.
Right.
So you win if you win your single table,
Yeah.
you move on to the next level with other single table winners.
Gotcha.
And then to the
They
final
all play
table.
on the final table.
That's it. And there's 3 rounds, and we'll make sure we show you the final table.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that's great. There's lots of stuff for you guys to look forward to today.
Be the presenter.
Beat the presenter as well. I will be playing again. I don't know if any of you caught my game last week. I was playing from home, and I was playing in a sit and go, and I did
How did you get on, Kara?
I won.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And then I went on and played a couple of heads-up games as well on the website. So much fun. I'd never done that before, and I won.
Now, I'm glad you
2 out
played
of 3.
I'm glad you played some heads-up games.
Thanks.
If you're very new to poker, that's a one-on-one game.
Yeah.
And
Difficult.
I always recommend it to people because it's fun, right?
It is actually a lot of fun,
You
and
get
it's
to
something.
play almost every hand.
Exactly, and a lot of people never actually get to the final 2 in a sit and go or a multi-table tournament because it is quite difficult to make it all the way down there, not just through into the money, but into the final 2. So heads-up play is something not a lot of people actually get that much experience at. So
Yes.
it's quite fun to actually play on a heads-up table.
Absolutely.
I would, suggest that you
That's
can
a
you can do that.
recommendation from
It
TV's
is.
Kara Scott.
Yeah, you can play for play money as well. So it's good fun. Anyways, and you do learn a lot about hand statuses and what actually works, and you have to listen to your opponent, what they're saying to you with their bets and their raises and their checks. See, I can talk the talk.
You can and play the walk. It's very good for learning betting patterns. Actually,
Yeah.
It develops that instinct in you very well.
It
playing
does.
heads up.
I think it really does. And the chance to actually see so many hands so rapidly is quite nice.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Well, what do we have up for our lovely viewers then first?
Well, they won't be watching because they'll be so busy sending us an email
Of course.
to get the night off to a blazing start. We
Yes.
expect a lot of emails tonight, boys and girls.
We do.
And lots of shout-outs if
Yeah.
you're playing this weekend. Do you still play poker when it's hot? I'm sure poker playing must suffer a bit when it's summery.
I don't know. Some people like the whole indoors air conditioning kind of thing. And I know that a lot of people are playing live games for the first time, because I was watching the show the other night. Yes, I do watch the show. And people were texting and emailing in asking for advice on how to play live games and how to make that transition. So maybe that's a particular worry for you. And
We can
beside
do
me,
a
I
bit
have
of that tonight.
a man who actually played in Vegas, of all places.
For far too long. Yeah, we can do a bit of that if you want to know some advice for playing live. If
Yep.
you've never played live before, we can do that.
So let us know what you, let us know what you think, and we will use your texts and your emails to kind of shape how we do tonight. So there you go.
Organically,
Organically.
like a birth mother.
That's really disturbing. Okay, let's go to our first table. $10 sit and go.
Really? I've no idea what the birth mother thing was.
It was disturbing.
Now we're off air. I do apologise for
Yeah.
that. $10 sit and go.
Yes, it is, and it's in the first stages.
I can pick them out a mile off.
You're so good at this. I can see why they call you the expert. You get to sit in the expert chair.
Do you know, Kara?
Yes.
And I should have said this at the top of the show. I don't know why I've only just remembered. Very big weekend for me and for the poker community,
Okay.
because I am being made the godfather this weekend.
Ah.
Sunday, it's all happening. Off to the church, rejecting the works of Satan.
Nice.
So I become
Does that
the...
include poker?
Well, I become the poker godfather at that
Right.
point, I presume.
Wow.
It's exciting stuff. Your friend, Mrs. Votter
Yes, the lovely Queen V. Apparently I'm the only one who calls her that, but I think it suits her. She's a very good player.
A special bond.
We do. But you know what? There are quite a few female players on the regular TV tables now, and it's so nice to see. And they also post on the forum, and there's quite a sisterhood of poker at the moment, which is heartwarming.
Do you know what you should do? You should see who you guys' favourite female poker star is in the world of poker, and you should contact them.
Like Jennifer Harmon.
Yeah.
Obviously.
You like Jennifer Harmon?
Yeah, I do.
You should contact her, because one thing I did learn in Vegas and generally is that poker players are extremely approachable. Now, I hope that hasn't changed, actually. I hope it hasn't changed now that poker's much bigger, but I suspect it hasn't. But that would be cool. Get
That would
some
be cool. It'd
top
be
women
amazing.
players perspectives.
Ah, I'd love that.
We
I
should
would
have her on
love
the
that.
show.
I wish we could, because I do think we could learn a lot from her. I mean, she's so widely respected as well as a player.
Well, being a female, actually, maybe we could get some emails on this, poker@pokernight.co.uk. If you're a woman player or if you're a guy playing women players, how does that affect things from either perspective? That'd be an interesting thing to talk about tonight. There are certain differences if you're playing against men, which you will be a lot of the time, definitely, in how the men view you and how you react to that. Actually, Mike Carrow wrote a book for female poker players. Sadly, it's now out of print. I tried to buy it a while back. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it, but it's definitely an interesting subject.
Well, I have spoken to quite a few, not so much female poker players as female backgammon players at sort of a world-class level. And they do say, and they tend to be quite glamorous women. I mean, they're playing live, and they're these beautiful, glamorous women, and they have said to me on more than one occasion, and more than one of them, that they use that in their game. They know that it will unsettle a lot of the male contestants.
Well, I mean, I use that. I mean, if you're a deeply sexual person, you're going to use that at the table, aren't you?
Yes, you are.
I've put off many a man. Yeah, no, well, quite right too. I mean, you know,
use what you've got.
You should use whatever advantages you have without cheapening yourself or losing your dignity. Remember, you've only got one reputation.
You know what? That is very true. I'm glad that's something that you've stuck to in your career.
Well, the thing about having one reputation is once it's ruined, you don't have to worry, do you? Because you can't.
You can't get any farther down the
What's
ladder,
the brilliant JR quote from JR from Dallas, Larry Hagman quote, which is brilliant. Once you've got rid of personal integrity, everything else is easy.
No, my goodness.
True story. But no, you should, if men are going to be put off playing well against you because you're an attractive woman, of course you should use that.
Is it, okay, it's a tool in the arsenal, as would be if you were a very large man with a lot of sort of masculine aggressiveness. It might put off some other players as well. But I just don't know how ethical it is as a woman to use that. And I know that a lot of female poker sites they're geared towards women in a very girly way, which a lot of women who play poker just aren't. No. And I mean, I speak from personal experience as well. A site that's offering, it is all pink and fluffy and offers, spa days and whatever.
Let me put my cards on the table, Kara.
Oh, do? See, in a poker way.
Yeah.
Oh, I like what you've done there.
See. I think that women are better poker players than men, person for person. I think that's incontrovertible. We could lie and say that we're all the same, but there are gender differences, and I happen to think the female, I don't know what the word is, traits, female traits suit poker better than male traits.
Then why aren't female players more in the top of the World Series of Poker?
Well, I think that they are, given how few there are.
Right.
It's a man's world, which means that there aren't many females playing.
Right. Do you think that
that's changed a lot in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, some websites are up to sort of 35% female audience.
And it makes it easier on a website to play as a female than playing live, because you're not going to face a lot of that same kind of
live is still
discrimination.
Very male.
Is it? Okay.
But I think qualities that male ego and male pride are definitely both bad for your poker game.
Yeah.
These are massive generalisations, boys and girls, of course they are, but within that, accepting that we're making generalisations, women tend to be more empathetic, which I believe helps them read other people better.
Okay, yeah. The whole right brain thing, rather than,
and I think women tend to be better learners as well, and tend to be more willing to listen. And you can shortcut your poker education massively if you're willing to listen to a good poker player.
Yeah, that is true.
The only thing that men have women on probably is aggressiveness. I think sometimes some women, when they start playing poker, because aggressiveness may not be natural. This is true of some men as well. I've got to be very careful here, but obviously we're talking generalities.
Generalities, absolutely.
I, for example, am very in touch with my feminine side. So,
and I'm very aggressive.
And you are aggressive,
scary, violent,
overbearing. But in general, men tend to take to aggression more naturally than women.
True. We're speaking sociologically, and there's been many studies done that show that these are things that are caused by mostly nurture, not nature. So we're talking about traits that are not inborn in males and females. We're talking about things that are passed on when we're children. And unfortunately, it's going to take quite a few generations to get away from this. So this is generalities. This is not everybody. I'm just sort of reinforcing what you're saying there. But we are speaking about sort of general characteristics that tend to be more male or more female, or seen as more male or more female, and more acceptable by society. We're not saying it's right or wrong, just so anyone out there understands that without a doubt. We're not saying
no, we're
female,
not, but I don't
male.
like butch women.
See, and I do. So there you go. So people out there at home, women in poker, what are your thoughts on women in poker?
Yes. What are your thoughts?
Poker at Poker Night Live, and I would love to hear about this. I always hesitate to bring this up as a topic because I don't want to alienate the male viewers either. But you're out there, you're playing
like
women. Well, yes. What do you think about playing women? If you were one of our regular TV table players as well, you do tend to be playing against quite a few women. Look at Miss Votive over there.
We also have the thing with the internet where people sometimes pretend to be women.
Exactly. In fact, we met one a few weeks ago.
And then they claim it's because it gives them an advantage poker-wise.
Yeah.
Not that they're living out some kind of pseudo-ego wish.
Okay, well, there's definitely one very male man who came to our poker evening at the Gut Shot, and he goes under a female pseudonym, and I'd be quite curious to find out why.
There you go.
So there you go. So let's hear from you at home. What do you think? And let's try to stay away from stereotypes as much as possible. I'm speaking to you in the number 1 seat there, wife's a bitch. But Otherwise?
That's not a stereotype, he's just making a statement. You know, a wife could be that word or could be lovely.
Ah, I see.
He is saying on this occasion...
I wonder if she knows.
What, that she is, or that he's calling her one?
He's calling himself that.
She definitely won't know she is.
I always know when I'm being one.
Well, here we go. Crespo's got the better hand, but White of Bitch has got position. Probably shouldn't be saying...
Really? Okay,
I
sorry.
don't know. I never know what we can say and what we can't.
I don't know either, but we'll not. It's only 10 o'clock, so we'll not. They were saying it quite a bit on the other show, so that's, you know.
Some of those other presenters are very unprofessional, Kara.
Yeah, because we're so professional.
You shouldn't be guided by them. They'll lead you wrong.
See, I had a whole lovely professional beginning to the show worked out, and you just trampled all over it, didn't you?
I thought I was reasonably restrained.
And we're looking at a sit and go here. It's a single table tournament. They're in the second stages of this because the blinds are 20 and 40. As you saw before, the blinds were 10 and 20, so that was the first stage. We've moved up a stage. That means the blinds are going up, and the blinds will continue to go up every 10 minutes, every 10 hands, depending on the game that we're looking at. And you enjoying your little snack there, Nick? Sorry, with the rustling.
Oh, is that goes over, doesn't it?
It does. But that's all right. I've told them what it is now, and I'll just continue talking about sit and go. Right, the blinds are 20 and 40, so they are going up. This means that the players in this tournament are going to be forced to make moves as the blinds go up and their stacks in relation to the blinds are smaller and smaller. Now, we started off with 8 players here. We've lost 1. This is a sit and go, which means that as soon as your chips are gone, your tournament life is gone. So putting them all on the line by going all in the beginning of a tournament is a bit dangerous. And that may have been what the person in the number 2 seed did. I don't know, because we weren't watching, I'm afraid. But as the tournament goes on, you'll see people making more and more moves, becoming more aggressive, letting their starting standards drop just a bit. Usually in the beginning of a tournament, people will be playing premium hands or limping in fact, to see the flop. Now, you can see everyone gets 2 cards dealt to them. These are the cards that they can see, but no one else can. Obviously, we can see them because the magic of television and the internet allows us to see them. It's on a slight delay, so that everyone sat at the table can't also see them at the same time. So there's the whole cards. Now, there's a round of betting that goes on based on the whole cards. 2 people are forced to make bets. These are forced bets. That's the big blind and the small blind, and they are just to the left of the dealer button. The dealer button, obviously, there's no real dealer on the internet. It's just a place saving device so that we can see where everyone is sat at the table. So the dealer button, you can see it there in seat number 8 with Crespo. It's the D with the circle around it. And you can also see that to the left it's going to be the big and the small blind as the next 2 whole cards come down. There we go. You can see the dealer button has moved around. And Mel and Nat and Snatch 1 are the big and the small blinds.
Yes, Snatch only has 20 chips left.
Yeah.
So can only put 20 in, obviously. He should put 40 in. And should he not win this hand, he will have no chips left, and that'll be the end of his tournament.
This is true.
What? Oh, yes. Where did we get up to? The blinds. And so...
Round of betting.
Round of betting. Now, the principle is that the betting must be equalised.
Right.
So everybody must put in the same amount of chips to proceed to the next betting round. Now, that could be no chips, if everybody decides not to put any. But should somebody bet, then the other players must equal that bet or throw their cards away.
Yes.
And that happens 4 times in Hold'em. Once on the first 2 cards, then 3 cards come out in the middle, as you see there. Then there's a betting round. A 4th card comes in the middle, a betting round, and a final 5th card comes out, and a final betting round. So that's the basic structure of the game. And we're trying to make the best 5-card hand from the 7 available. So you've got access to the 2 in front of you, and the 5 on the board. Best 5 from those 7 is your hand.
That's
Always
true.
the best 5 cards count.
Yep,
So,
and if the best 5 are the ones on the board,
yes.
then it's a split pot and everyone will share in it.
Yes. That's
Yes.
right.
I think that sums it up quite nicely.
Yes.
There you go, folks. That is a single table tournament. If you have any questions about that, do let us know.
Yeah, if you're new to poker or you're new to the show, we still love to hear from you, poker@pokerlive.co.uk. If you've got basic question, if you're not understanding the game, do get in touch. I would recommend stay tuned. You should pick it up pretty quickly. And if you want to know the hand rankings, to assist you while you watch, for example, does a straight beat a flush, or vice versa? I'll give you a clue: a flush beats a straight. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. If you want to see the hand rankings, you can go to any search engine, put in Texas Hold'em hand rankings or poker hand rankings, and you'll get them up. And you can use that to accompany your viewing. We have new viewers every night, Karen.
In fact, we do. That's
Yes.
true. This is a growing industry, this whole poker thing. So if you are indeed one of the new viewers, anywhere in not just the UK, but also around the world, then let us know what your questions are. And if we're using any terminology that seems a bit uncertain, then do let us know too.
Miss Fotivova's got a difficult decision. Mr. Poet's bet 540, which is a big bet. She had top pair, jacks with top pair, top kicker and ace. But she decided not to play because there was too much in the middle that scared her, that could have beaten her one pair.
Yeah.
Lots of straights looked possible, and she made a very good decision not to play.
She's a very measured player, is what I've seen from watching her play. She's, yeah, she's incredibly disciplined, is something I've noticed.
Well, that is one of your key qualities.
Yeah, she doesn't... I haven't seen her anyways getting sucked into pots and not being able to put cards down. If she is looking at the board and seeing it, it's a little bit scary, which is something that I kind of strive to do myself, but I've not quite mastered yet.
Really?
Yeah. I'm afraid so.
Yeah, it's a difficult balance because... Well, it's a difficult balance. Hey, it's a difficult game.
It's a tough old game, this one.
Tough game. Like all of the great games, you can teach someone to play poker in an hour, but you can play for years and years and still have things that you don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can't teach them to play exceptionally well in an hour. You can teach them sort of the rudiments, the fundamentals of the game.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But if you teach them how to play well in an hour, I'd be signing up for those kind of lessons.
Would you?
I would, I tell you. 2, 3, 4, 5 there for Miss V.
That doesn't make anything.
Nope, it doesn't.
Don't get points for that, do you?
No, you really don't. But she does have a pair of 4s.
She does. She's got the best hand.
But does she know it?
Well, she got called as well. She thought about that for a long time. I think she was deciding whether to bet or check, and I think she decided to bet, probably because if she checked and Poker Malk decided to bluff with a decent-sized bet, it would have been very difficult for her to make that decision. So she made a bet which was kind of a defensive bet to dissuade him from bluffing.
Yeah.
I think that's what she was doing. Could be completely wrong.
Could be. It'd be great to hear from her as one of our female poker players.
Well, we've introduced the lady poker theme.
I know. Let's see if anyone actually wants to talk about this. It is something that I find really interesting, the psychology behind it, as you've said. And I know that there are a lot of females out there who do feel a little bit irritated by the whole poker bunny sort of image. It's, you know, I don't know, it's a bit strange. I mean, do poker players, the male poker players don't necessarily have to be incredibly fit and good looking and handsome to be on TV playing poker. I'm not talking about you, obviously, because you are all of those things, obviously.
Sure.
I'm talking, you know, international
thanks for
poker
spontaneously saying that.
stars. Absolutely. No problem. But it does seem like a lot of the women that play, it is expected that they will look quite glamorous and beautiful. And I don't know, that seems to me to be an incredible double standard, but, you know.
Look nice for the telly, is that too difficult? What's the...
Yeah, but it's a double standard.
Boys make an effort too. Well, I mean, I think you have to appreciate that until recently, you know, until 10 years ago, poker was an extremely male-dominated game. In fact, 30 years ago, it was almost unheard of for a woman to even play the game. You know, there were literally a handful of professional women players in the world. I think Amarillo Slim said that he would cut his own throat if a woman ever won the World Championship. And actually propagated the idea that men were superior to women at the game. Which, at that point, they were, but only because women weren't playing at the top levels of poker. So yeah, you have to understand that it is, you know, it is definitely changing. but it's starting from such a low base of
Right.
female representation that it's not there yet.
Yep, this is true. And you get a lot of different personality types and different images that people try to project at the table anyways, and they do tend to be stereotypes. You've got sort of the Unabomber stereotype of the hoodie over his head and the sunglasses on. You've got the big sort of Texan stereotype of, you know, the Texas cowboy gambler. So I suppose it does make sense that you do get also the femme fatale female poker players as well.
Yeah, I like regular viewers of this show will be reasonably bored of me saying it, but I like Annie Duke, partly because I've been lucky enough to meet her, but also because she doesn't fall in a particular stereotype. She's a mum of 3. She combines it with being a professional poker player.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently does both excellently. She also played her way up.
Yeah, there you go. And we have 5 players left here at our tournament table. And they both have a high card and looking for at least a pair. And I think it's a little bit of aggression is going to be the one that wins this. Oh, no, we've got a 7 on the board for Crespo as well.
Yeah. If Miss Vosovova wants to make an improvement to her game,
Yes.
if she's listening, stop making those bets.
Which bets?
Those little bluffs, minimum bet bluffs,
Right.
because they don't really serve any purpose.
Okay.
The only thing you could possibly argue is they might stop the other person from bluffing you.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, you want to do one or the other. You're either checking or betting. If you're betting, you want it to be a meaningful bet
Yep.
in poker.
Have bold equity.
And this is one of the things I would say to you guys who are very nice. One of the things I'd say to you guys who are coming into the game, if you're new to the game, you're playing No Limit Hold'em. One of the big mistakes that new players make is they don't bet enough, and actually that tends to stay with people for, well, sometimes forever, but quite often for months and months because they're worried about losing their chips.
Yep, that's true.
So if in the marginal situation they don't bet enough, and I don't want you to get into that habit, I want you to think I'm either betting or I'm checking. And if I'm betting a significant amount.
Make it say something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make it worthwhile.
A significant bet in No Limit Hold'em is minimum half the pot, half the amount of money that's in the middle would be the minimum that would be considered a significant bet. Usually you would bet a little bit more than that, but now that doesn't mean you can't bet a tiny amount if you're doing it for a specific strategic reason, but when you're beginning, make all your bets meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not, and you'll hear Karen and me talk about this throughout the evening, you're not asking a meaningful question. Basically, there are 2 ways to win at poker, and I must have said this 8,000 times since I started
It's worth
the show.
saying.
I make no apology for it.
No, it's worth saying.
2 ways to win at poker. One is to have the best hand. The other, uniquely, is to make a bet that nobody else matches.
Yeah.
So everyone else throws their hand away, and then you win the hand no matter what your cards were. So you could have awful cards, you still win. And if you don't give people the opportunity to throw their hands away, if you don't make significant bets, then you are not giving yourself that second way to win, and you're not taking full advantage of all the utility in the game.
Yeah.
And that's why poker lends itself to aggression, because the person asking the questions is very often the person that's making the other players throw away their hands.
Yeah, just to interject, I find, because I was very guilty of making bets that weren't all that meaningful.
Yeah.
It's something that you've brought me up on a lot of different times. Now that I've forced myself to make bets that are more meaningful, and it's a bigger chunk of my stack that I'm committing, it makes me a lot more aware of things like position and the real strength of my hand. And it makes me think about the players that I'm up against more.
Right.
I'm not just putting in tiny little bets to do this or to do that. Because I'm committing so much more of my stack.
Right.
I have to really think about the decision much more, and which I think is actually helping me in my game.
Okay, well that's good. I think the thing is to always, to try, it's very hard. I mean, we still, I made a call a couple of days ago which was guilty of this. At some point we all do things on autopilot when we play poker, and what I mean by that is you do something as a reflex without thinking about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And everyone will do that from time to time. You really want to try not to do that. You want to try and be very clear about the reasons why you're doing anything. Why are you betting? Why are you raising? Why are you folding? You should know why. If you're not completely sure why not, then you've found an area where you can think about, concentrate and improve your game. But basically you want to get to the point where you know what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
You may be hopelessly wrong.
But at least you're doing
But at
it
least you're
with
doing
a purpose.
it in a thinking manner.
Yeah.
In a tactical thinking manner.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I was far too guilty, I think, of just doing things because I thought it was the right thing to do, but I wasn't quite sure why.
Right.
So now to actually have to think it through because I am committing more of my stack, I think it's making, like I say, a difference to my game, indeed. Definitely. And there we go. Mel and Nat has hit the top pair and a flush draw, but they both hit a flush draw, and Wife's a Bitch has hit the, has the king in that. But with the ace on the board, it makes it all a little bit more difficult. So what's what they going to do? He checks it down. What's Mel and Nat going to do here? Top pair. So there you go, 160 as a bet. Not enough, really.
Not enough.
Not enough. It's not going to push Wife's off that pot. And
Again,
they may have had the flush.
The usual caveat applies. There are circumstances where making a tiny bet may be a valid tactic.
Right, might pull someone into a pot where you can then make a bit more money on it.
Yeah, maybe it will do that. But generally, and particularly if you're starting the game, either bet or don't bet.
Yeah?
That's the
Strong
easiest way.
words indeed.
Strong words. We're looking for strong play, Kara.
Yes.
Strong, manly play.
Well, see, there you go again.
That was my little joke.
I know. Strong, womanly play. All right, then. We've got a couple of aces on the board. And one of them's in this small blind, one's on the dealer button. It'd be interesting to see if Mel and Nat tries to make a bit of a steal here. There we go. And Wife's is not really going to be playing with that kind of starting hand. Mel and Nat's put in a 480 size bet.
Well, Poker Mouth's given Mel and Nat a difficult decision. And I really like the bet from Poker Mouth.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Mel and Nat's on the button.
Yeah.
He could have any hand trying to steal the blinds.
Yeah.
So Poker Mouth's given himself 2 ways to win. There you go.
Yeah.
He's given himself 2 ways to win. One way to win is that he's got the best hand. And there's a decent chance of that.
Okay.
Mel and Nat could easily be trying to steal the blinds with Queen
True.
10 or whatever. The second way to win is what just happened, which is he's made a significant raise. And you've got to be very careful to look at how many chips you're putting in and are you asking a significant question.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not giving yourself that other way to win. If he could only have doubled the bet there, he wasn't giving himself. We're going to see a race here between ace, king, and sevens. So Poker Mouth gave himself those 2 ways to win.
Yeah, this is
So
true.
I like the move, and you have to be able to make that sort of move towards the end of tournaments.
If someone had raised that in early position rather than on the dealer button, would you still think it was a good move?
I would think it would be significantly less good.
Good, okay. And explain to me why.
Well, you know why, I'm sure. Because it's much more likely that they have a genuine
An
hand.
actual hand, yeah. On the button, it looks more like a steal. So you're making it is a bit of a gamble, but then this is gambling. So there we go.
I'm going to take you outside and beat you. It's not gambling, Kara Scott. How dare you?
I can't believe I said such a shocking thing.
How dare you?
If you're shocked as well, or if you'd like to weigh in on the whole idea of women in poker as well, or maybe you've seen something on screen that sparks your interest, or you just don't understand what we're talking about, this whole poker malarkey.
Or you just want to say hello to us.
Yeah, a bit of a shout out. Come and say hello. You can send us a text or an email, and we'd love to hear from you. Text the word poker and your question to 84222. We do love to hear from you at home, so please do email in as well, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, and we will do our very best to read all of those out. If you do have an idea about women in poker and why you think maybe more women aren't playing, why more women have started to play now and are rising up through the ranks, do you think that women-only qualifiers for the WSOP is a good idea or a bad idea? Because this is something that's been on the forum. Do we think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
Do they exist?
Yeah.
Really?
Which I think is a very odd thing because as one of our female viewers and posters on the forum said, I believe, and I'm paraphrasing here, so forgive me if I get it wrong, poker is one of the few places where women and men can play, especially online, at an equal footing.
Absolutely.
So why, therefore, make a women's-only tournament? It doesn't really make sense.
There's two things to say. One is you're absolutely right. It shouldn't really exist. The second thing to say is that qualifiers, the World Series of Poker is not like the British Open golf tournament or Wimbledon or something like that. It's not a structured thing. Anyone that can come up with $10,000 can play in the World Series of Poker. So if you can find enough people to enter a tournament which generates a $10,000 prize, which is what online qualifications are, then you're in the World Series of Poker.
Right.
So you could say, you know, black people only, Scottish people only, left-handed people only. If you can find enough people to enter a tournament based on whatever you come up with. It's a marketing thing, yeah.
That's what I think as well. It's a marketing thing. It's trying to pull maybe more women into poker. I don't know if it's a good idea, though. I've got to say, I'm a bit undecided on this. I'm sure it's a good idea for the sponsors, because they're having lots of people, you know, rolling their money into these qualifier tournaments. Great. Still, I don't know. I just don't know. Women-only tournaments. Good idea, bad idea? What do you think? Let us know. It's a Friday night. Let's be controversial.
I don't think it's controversial.
Really?
No.
Oh, let's think of something else then.
Okay.
Controversial.
Mixed race tournaments. So they're a good idea. There you go.
Nice. And we're not quite that. Oh, and we're down to 3. There we go. We lost Miss V. But we still have Crespo, Wifes, and Mel and Nat. I've lost the last word. I just don't feel comfortable.
No.
Bigging up to the sisters.
Just not nice, is it? Well, these are our money winners, you're right. And well done them. Well done them. Poker Malt's gone out, unfortunately for him. Showed some good aggression earlier on. And that will probably be raising here. No. Ah, interesting.
Interesting.
Has decided not to get involved because Crespo is so short-stacked. So a tournament decision, nothing to do with the cards. Basically, Crespo's got to go all in at some point. And I'd imagine Wajsowicz will call here, and then Mel and Nat will call, and they'll check it down. That's my exclusive prediction.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks.
They'll go checky, 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 check, check. Unless they are silly. In which case, it won't.
Let's see. He's thinking about it, or he's trying to type in the little box. Always takes me ages to do that. I know it makes me sound a bit airheaded, but I'm not very good at that. It's the hand-eye coordination.
That's fine. You know,
nothing to do with being airhead.
Or being a woman.
Hand-eye coordination's not so good.
Now, Crespo can get out of this with a queen or a club, and that's not either of them. So, we're going to be heads up.
Ah, here we go.
Heads up for the moolahs.
For the big money. Yeah, indeed it will. And Mel and Nat has managed to knock out Crespo.
Now you see there's an interesting little tournament lesson for those of you who just started to play tournaments. Very, very important that neither of them bet there.
Right.
Because neither of them had a particularly good hand, but both of them had a hand that was better than the all-in player. If one of them bets and forces the other one out, they drastically reduce the chances of knocking out the all-in player.
Right, because it's up against one hand rather than two.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And their objective there is to get down to 2 players and increase their prize money.
Right.
They help themselves much more by making sure they knock out the 3rd player than they do by getting a few extra chips.
Really? Okay.
So in that situation, if you find yourself in that situation, check unless you have the absolute nuts. That's the general rule. And
the nuts being the term for all of our new watchers out there for the very best hand.
Yes.
In case that was unclear.
Yes. And it has nothing to do with associating a domesticated mammal with the word nuts. Apparently it comes from olden days, and they said that hand was so good I would even bet the nuts on my wagon on it.
Really?
Yes. Apparently. That could be revisionist history by somebody, but that's what I've heard.
An interesting story, and I like it.
As long as you're interested, Cara, we're winning. We're ahead.
You've got an audience of 1, Mr. Wealthall. I'm here.
That's all I need.
There
and
we go.
Sue. Hello, Sue, if you're watching. Good evening.
Oh, yeah.
She's watching tonight, I think.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I hope we do a good show for her then. Be proud of your little boy.
See, I don't need to prove myself in front of her anymore.
Good.
You know,
She loves you anyways.
it has to be unconditional, given some of the things I've done.
Yeah, I think my mother's watching as well.
It's great, isn't it, to have the mums along?
I know.
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
Doesn't mean a whole lot to the viewers, but
No.
there you go.
Feel the warmth, everyone.
Does anyone's mum play poker?
Hey, it's a whole women in poker thing again. Does your mom play poker so much that she burns the food because she doesn't go check the stove? See, that's very, very gender stereotyped.
Just gender stereotyping.
I know.
Does your mum make mistakes in the accounts for the large multinational that she's very high up in because she's playing poker?
There you go.
Thank you. Well, an unlikely straight for wifey. And that is the nuts that we were referring to earlier.
Ah, yes.
The best possible hand.
I bet the nuts on my wagon on that one.
The thing about Hold'em is you always know what the best possible hand anybody can have is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, that's one of the main reasons it's such a good game, such a subtle game, and such an infinitely interesting game, is that you're always aware of the possibilities. You've got a lot of the information. You've got 5 out of everybody's 7 cards.
Uh-huh.
You've got a lot of information, but in a lot of ways you've got very little of the information. So it's an incomplete information game, but there's a decent amount out there. So not only can you draw conclusions about what other people have, but you can represent different things yourself.
This is true. This is true. It's unlike, say, 5-card stud, where you don't get that sort of information about what people possibly could have, or where you can then represent things.
Well,
you can represent, obviously, they're still bluffing and whatnot, but it's
true.
different, isn't it? You can see
you
what
mean
the
5-card draw, don't you?
Sorry, pardon me, 5-card draw, yeah.
Yes, it's very different. Much more sophisticated, in fact, much more difficult to master. Although some people would disagree with that.
Very sophisticated.
Is that your sophisticated face?
Yeah.
It's good.
Thanks. Oh, there we go. So,
unlucky for Mel and Nat,
yeah.
but now in serious trouble. Not that unlucky, had the worst hand, but, you know, just unlucky generally not to win.
Yeah.
Could still come back. You never know. Seen weirder things.
This is true. Although he has less than the big blind, and he's got 4-5 in his hand. Not looking likely. Well, you never know. Nope. That's not going to happen, I'm afraid, tonight for you, Mel and Nat. Well done to Wifey. Wifey is the winner there and takes home top prize, so well done.
Wifey's the winner, despite being a bit rude.
I know, a bit rude in the whole name thing, but still.
But maybe it's true, and then it would just be a statement of fact.
I suppose. And it's not for us to judge, really. But there we go. And some of you at home are actually taking up the gauntlet that we have thrown down, asking you what you think about all the different varieties of questions about women in poker.
Yes.
The stereotypes, why do you think women play? Do you think it's different playing as a woman? Do you think there's that sort of difference? One of you sent a kind of a flippant email in, but I'm going to read it out anyways, because it's a little bit funny.
Flippant?
You can tell just from the name of this player. The player calls himself Dirty Papa.
Oh dear.
Right. Says, I cynically used to think that the celeb poker player Jennifer Tilly was a poker success based on her sexy charisma at the live poker table. But then she won the women's event at last year's WSOP.
Indeed.
So I guess it wasn't just down to her huge personality, was it? No.
No, he's put bazongas. You've misread that.
Yeah. I was not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that.
Can we please call them whackers?
No. God, no.
Really?
Moral of the story? Big up all you poker femmes.
Just remember my
he
mum's
says.
watching. I do apologise.
Yeah, I know.
She thinks less of me now immediately.
And so she should.
Bosoms.
Yes. Jennifer Tilly, beautiful, very sexy, very charismatic woman.
Well,
not just as an actor, but also I've seen her doing some of her live play.
Oh, yeah?
Beautiful. Well, on television, playing live, obviously.
Okay.
And she's incredibly charismatic,
Well,
but she's also very talented, isn't she?
Well, not so much for her film, of course. But, well, have you seen Chucky's Bride of Chucky? Shocking. No, obviously she's talented. She's made it in Hollywood. The interesting thing is that a lot of Hollywood stars have done well at poker.
Yes.
Tobey Maguire's done well.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck won a WPT event, Jennifer Tees won, and it's not that surprising because if you think of the qualities you need to be a good tournament player specifically, confidence, charisma, that that aura of self-confidence and that confidence to be aggressive when you play. One of the main things you need as a tournament player, and once they've learned the game,
they can use all the rest of that to their advantage.
It isn't a massive surprise. I think she actually, whether this is just her PR or whether it's true, it was certainly put out that she's been playing poker for years and years and years.
Right.
She wasn't a bandwagon jumper.
Yeah.
She
I think probably
played with
that's
her family
true.
and played in casinos and stuff. But now, of course, she's with Phil Lack. Very serious relationship.
Wow.
Completely bizarre relationship.
Yeah?
Well, he's a maths geek who wears a hoodie, and she was a Hollywood actress.
There you go. See,
poker brought them together.
Blooming at the poker table. Love is blooming. There you go. Right. Any other questions out there? Comments on women in poker? And indeed, if you think that there should be female-only qualifiers for the WSOP, because it's a question that I'm quite interested in, then you can let us know here in the studio. You could be emailing us as well over the break, which is coming up in a few minutes, and you can be texting us too. Now, there you go. Send your questions to poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Right, so we'd take a look at a very quick game before we go off to the break?
Whatever you want, Cara.
Well, thank you. I'm in charge. I think maybe we should.
For an hour.
For an hour. No, your hour's coming up next.
Is
so
it?
I will be playing the Beat the Presenter. So.
Great.
Yay. So what should we take a look at?
Cash
game?
Presumably. A little
Let's
bit
take
of
a
cash.
look at a bit of cash game.
Just to warm them up. A little bit of cash, bit of tournament. We're laughing.
I say. Bit of cash, bit of tournament. Nice.
I've had the... I'll say it in Vision, actually. I was going to recount a recent experience. This is a cash game. Poker experience, you'll be relieved to know.
Oh, thank God for that.
Exactly. 25-cent, 50-cent cash game, and you can put up to $50 on the table at the start. So anyone here with more than $50 is ahead for their buy-in. Of course, they may have taken 3 or 4 buy-ins to get to that point. You never know. It's a bad day.
Yeah, but it looks good at the moment.
It looks good at the moment. And the thing about... this is no limit hold'em again, guys, so these players can bet as much as they like, whenever they like, that they have in front of them. As distinct from the tournament, if they run out of chips, they can go and get some more money and some more chips.
Reload, in fact.
Reload, indeed. And this game is deceptively sized in that 25 cent, 50 cent sounds like a very small amount of money, but it's more than possible to go through a couple of $100 in a night, more than possible. And in order to play in this game regularly, I think you would probably need at least $2,000 in your account.
Wow.
You can play with less. You can play with less.
It's not as safe, taking into account variance and...
Yeah. I mean, you can completely play with less. You can play in this game with $50 in your account, obviously.
Right, but then once it's gone, it's gone.
Once it's gone, it's gone. If you had a significant edge, I think you could get that closer to 1,000 if you had a really significant edge over the game. But it's definitely... Playing in a no-limit game, you need more money than people think. So, the usual caveat applies. If you're just starting to play this game, it's great fun. It's particularly good when it's played for money, because A, winning money is great, and B, losing money gives it an edge.
Yep.
But of course, you should only be playing with money you can comfortably afford, and not your children's present money.
No. Don't be dipping into the tea fund or whatnot, it's a difficult
Not the
thing.
barbecue fund this time of year.
No.
No emails yet saying that you have successfully combined barbecues and poker. First one wins a special prize.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd love to know what that is. You've made it up in your head yet, so we'll have to find out after the break.
Yes, but I've got time to think of one.
Oh, I see. Yes. Well, for the rest of you, we're going to be going off for a break, but the poker news is coming up next, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Find out what's going on in the world of poker. And
I hope they've got a good presenter for it.
Really? I hear they have. Hello and welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's our second hour here, and we're going to be taking you through some more cash games and some more sit and goes while I play in the Beat the Presenter slot. And this is a $5 tournament, I believe, or maybe it's a $2. I can't remember. I'll figure it out. But it's a sit and go, and I'll be playing for this hour and letting you commentate on the games at hand. I better.
That's it. You're just going to play cards.
I am.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's all up to you now.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
We're all counting on you, Nick. Hello, poker world. Boys and girls, I don't often have to do this with you. It's never pleasant when I do have to do it, but it is part of my job. We're slow on the emails tonight. Kara's quite upset about it, aren't you?
What's that all about?
Brave face at the moment, but you are quite upset.
I am. I was crying during the break.
She was crying a little bit. I'm just angry, to be honest. I don't like being like this. This isn't me. This isn't like the way I want to be. You can change that. We need your texts and emails. We're here for you. That's why we're here. If you didn't exist and didn't write in, it would just be me and you blathering on.
Really?
Thank goodness we sidestepped that line of mine.
Yeah.
Boys and girls, email the show. It's a great opportunity tonight because it's Friday night and clearly people are sitting there with cold glass in hand, feet out the window, enjoying the summer air. Something. Ask us anything you like. Say hello. Tell us what you're up to this weekend. Tell us about what you think about women in poker. Tell us what you think about my shirt. We don't care. We would like to hear from you.
We would, in fact.
Remember your obligations, yeah?
Yeah. Who's here for you? Who's been helping you with the poker? The Godfather. That's
exactly that. Not yet. Soon. Let's go and look at a game, shall we? We'll do some emails in a minute. We have got some. It's just that it's not reached the heights.
No, the dizzy heights that we're used to.
Especially, you know, when you and I do the show.
Aww.
Where's the fan base gone, Kara? Now, when you play in your game, Kara, which you just started doing.
Yeah.
Can you please focus on the game, not the chat?
I know, but I've missed all the chat up to this point now because I was actually working.
You're not supposed to be looking at the chat at all. You're supposed to be right. As she does a bit of chat. I can't even control her for 8 seconds. Pathetic. Kara's playing poker on the internet. You can go and watch her and chat to her if you like.
No, I'm going to be focusing. I'm going to be focusing.
She doesn't have the eye of the chaffinch any more than...
Oh, stop it.
Well, you can get it back. You just, you know. She's playing poker and you'll be able to see what she did at about 12 o'clock, top of the next hour. For now, we're watching the Poker Player Shootout. This is the semi-final. Now, remember, guys, if you haven't seen that one, this one before, that one, slight tense problems. That's the way it was, the way it is. This is the semi-final round. So there's 7 other tables like this. The winner of each table, so it's a one-table tournament, the winner of each one will advance to the final. And it's a free roll. You could have entered. There are some heats still to go. You just need to buy Poker Player or have a crafty-looking WH Smiths and get the password. It's completely free to enter. I actually think you should buy it, though. It's a very good magazine. And they said you couldn't do a magazine about poker. And you can get in. You could be in on a future night. But for tonight, these are the guys who have taken up the challenge. And everybody that reaches the final table gets a little bit of cash for nothing, I emphasise, with a first prize of, I think it's 500. It's a share of 1,000 between the final tablists, I think. But the winner of the final tonight, which we'll show later on, gets a seat in our live studio game, which will be shown on Poker Zone. So you get to play live here in the studio on the telly, and you get to compete for a share of £8,000. So there's lots of incentive to play, and lots of incentive to play well. Also, you get quite a nice structure as well. I think the blinds go up every 12 minutes, so it's like playing multi-table tournament structure on a single table. And there's 7 left quite early on. We'll take in a bit of this, 5100 brine levels. Just looking to see if I recognise any of the people concerned. Shaky Shark I recognise. Haven't seen him playing for a while on the TV. Good evening, Shaky Shark. Good evening to the rest of you. New names to us all. Feel free to drop me an email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk with TV's Nick Wealthall. And TV's Kara Scott. Where'd you get all those chips from, Kara?
Well, you know, someone gave them to me.
It's the training.
It's nice. Yeah, it's all down to the trainer.
Top pair for that player. I mean, that's a silly name, isn't it, if you're going to come on the telly? I'll call you Alan. Top pair for Alan. And creative check raised by Shaky Shark, that I think, even though it's a big bet, Alan may play this, and he does. Straight draws to get out, but Shaky Shark's bluffed at the wrong hand, I'm afraid. Well, minimum raise by Pee Wee Hal. And Shaky Shark is playing a little loose at the moment. That's the polite version. One of those no-limit hands where whoever bets will probably take it. Pee Wee Howell's the raiser, has position, doesn't want to bet it. Got to admit, I would have been tempted. Right, that sounds like chatting, not playing, Kara.
Sorry. Sorry.
All right?
Yep.
Well, don't expect to have to tell you once,
Okay.
twice.
Sorry.
Out of order, isn't it?
Sorry. Sorry, Mr. Wealthall.
I will come down on you like a ton of bricks, young lady.
I was making notes.
Not only was it an awful excuse, but the ridiculous length of time it took for you to come up with it was even worse.
Someone fed it to me from the chat box. Sorry.
Got your little cohorts as well.
Yeah. Yep. Now, talking about, you were asking a question before the break about playing poker in the hot weather.
Mm.
My mother emailed in and said, doesn't that make it the best weather for strip poker? Thank you, Mom. And now, in the chat box, someone's actually offering to play her. And that's just wrong. Double top, it's wrong.
Well, Moonchester's made 3 nines. That's my comment on that, by the way.
Sorry. You go on with the poker thing. I will play my game.
Mr. Hasto has called off his chips. Strip poker with Kara's mum, how bizarre.
It's a shocking proposition.
You thought she was a little bit more
Well, no.
restrained than that? No, no, clearly.
No, I'm just shocked that he would suggest such a thing.
Oh, the Doll's would suggest it. Well, take what you can get in this life, don't you?
My mother's well fit.
I was referring to...
Yeah, obviously. Double top.
Got to buy a raffle ticket to win a raffle or other things that men say. Shaky Shark has bluffed off all his chips, and for those of you who are watching the last 3 minutes, that's not a surprise, I'm afraid. Shaky played in a shaky way, I'm afraid. And makes an early exit, and we're down to 6 in this semi-final of our poker player free roll. And I think we'll soon be down to 5, because Mr. Hasto's going to have to get lucky here. Needs a jack. Only a jack. Ace won't do it. The king will play, and Pee Wee Hal will bust him. Bust him back to wherever Mr. Hasto lives. Dunno. Kent, let's say. Could be Stockholm. We're global. Global, aren't we? So, who knows? You can watch this show anywhere in the world, Cara. Do you know that?
You can. You can
Simply
even watch
go
it
online.
anywhere you have an internet connection. You can watch the show.
One of the controllers of the station excitedly told me the other day we're now going live to 500,000 Hungarian homes.
Oh, those poor Hungarian people.
I don't know what to say, really.
What can you say to that?
I don't know what you say to that. I said, that's good. No, don't get me wrong. I think it's good. I think it's great.
It's absolutely
it's impressive.
fantastic.
I just didn't know what I was supposed to do to
mark that occasion.
just to help my performance for the Eastern European audience. I don't know what they're up for. It would be great to get some international emails tonight. poker@pokernightllive.co.uk. Hello to all of you watching in the European countries we go out to. Now too numerous for me to remember which ones. But Germany, Sweden, I think. Poland, I think. Lots of them. If you are watching overseas, good evening to you. Do write in poker@pokerlive.co.uk is the address. Moonchester bets the flush draw, but Alan's got top pair. I think he's going to play it. Makes the raise, and Moonchester's got enough chips to make that call. Picks up a pair of nines, but it makes Alan 2 pairs. That's a nervous 400 bet. And it's actually a mistake because Moonchester's getting the right price for his draw now. Comes back to the same thing, guys. If you're going to make a bet, make a bet. Don't make one of these little apology bets, because if your opponent's got a draw like Moonchester has there, he's trying to make that flush. He also has the straight draw as well. You're just building a pot for him. You're actually giving him the right price. It's the other problem with these little bets. Plenty of play left in the Poker Player Shootout semi-final we're watching. Blinds only at 75-115. They don't go up too fast, so the guys could take their time, but it's no limit hold'em, so anything can happen at any point. Jacks versus the ace-queen. Now the jack should move in here, and he does that, and the ace-queen calls very quickly. And the jacks have hit their set. No spades for anyone, so well done to Sky Muppet. He had a slight edge in that confrontation with ace-queen. And we're going to prove to you there are other semi-finals by showing you one. Here's another one. This one at the same blind level, but clearly has been a very, very aggressive table because we're down to 3 players at 75-150 blinds. Quite unusual. And Poker Night Live regular Hoofy is on this table. Not in his normal seat.
No, it's
My
shocking.
goodness.
He's usually in the 3 seat.
Is it a full moon?
It must be.
But still doing well. However, this is a winner-takes-all situation, so a little bit different from almost any other poker you'll play. Most of the time, finish in the top 3 in a one-table situation and you'll get a little something back. Here, winner takes all. Only the winner advances to tonight's final. Now, how will that affect the players? Will it make them more conservative? That would be the likely outcome when they get down to sort of 3 players and they've got a real chance of winning. It's pathetic, Hera.
I didn't chat for ages.
And then you tried to no, but it's just so funny.
I don't know
if the viewers could
quietly.
pick up on it, but you just like really naughty girl. I'm definitely not doing anything. Chatting with little keys. Kane has got King 10, which looks like a nice enough hand, 3-handed. What's he going to do with it? He's going to make that raise. And forces Hoofy to fold a better hand. Takes the blinds down. Well, Jangles makes the continuation bet. Kane's got middle pair. Well, he didn't raise. Could have raised. Up to him. Well, now Kane's moved in, and that's probably a very good bet because obviously he's representing the flush. Can Bojangles make this call? He can. Great call by Bojangles. Had the top pair. It's a very interesting hand, that one, I thought. I think Kane managed to Bojangles managed to piece together by going back through what happened in the hand that Kane didn't have the flush.
Quite thoughtful play.
Yeah, I don't know how he did it, because he could have quite easily had the flush. It's more a case of just not believing. And I think also maybe Kane bet too much. He bet over 3,000 chips into a pot containing... he raised over 3,000 chips. Which maybe that was one of the deciding factors. Bojangles had a pair of kings and made a courageous call, because it's winner takes all. Very good call by Bojangles there. And we lose Kane. That was the pivotal hand of the night for him. If Bojangles goes on to win this heat, it will be the pivotal hand of the occasion for him. And he's certainly got something here. He's trying to get Hoof-Hearted to bluff at this, which makes a lot of sense. Well, now he's going to have to bet, and he's going to hope Hoofy's got a little something to call him with. Unfortunately, as we can see, he hasn't. And Hoofy, very disciplined, doesn't even want to waste 300 on that kind of nonsense. How you doing, Kara Scott? You having fun?
I am. I'm enjoying the poker. Thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah. I'm
I've got
enjoying
a
it
very
very
good feeling
much.
about this.
Well, good. It is more difficult to play on Beat the Presenter when everyone's watching. I've got to say, I was playing the other night just from my own, well, from home under my own name, and I found it so much easier. But it's nice to come off of a win. So.
Confidence is high.
Yes, confidence is high.
Well, Bojangles has a 4-to-1 chip edge, so he does have a good advantage in this heads-up match, but all's not lost for Hoofy. The blinds are still relatively low. They don't go up fast in this format, and he only needs to win a couple of all-ins, and he'd have the chip lead. So heads up, you can always turn it around, even if you're in a situation like this. The key thing is the blinds, because the blinds aren't too big. So he's not going to be under too much pressure from them, and he can wait for some decent cards. Can't wait too long, but at least he doesn't have to commit his stack with, you know, really trash hands. Nine-8 versus Jack-10, and Hoofy's picked up a flush and straight draw. Good for him. Mind you, you can contact us at any point. 84222 is the text number, boys and girls. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email. We'll take your emails on anything. Pretty cheap here. We prefer them about poker, but whatever. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I'm writing nice things about you in the chat box.
Thanks, Kara Scott.
Yeah.
You're good to me. You notice how I relaxed my no chatting policy?
I know.
If
it was
it's
about you.
complimentary, yeah. Pathetic, aren't I, when you look at it like that? I need to have a serious look at myself, I tell you. Well, Bojangles is pressing this advantage pretty skillfully, and Hoofy's going to have to take a stand sooner or later. I wonder if it'll be this hand. He can't wait too long. He's going to wait a bit longer. Well, a pair of sevens will see his money going, but he's not going to get action. Well, I've been impressed with Bojangles. He made a very, very good call when he had the kings, and he's played this heads up well too, kept the aggression, kept the pressure on Hoofy on the small stack, which is sometimes not easy to do when you're the big stack, because you worry about doubling up the other player, but he's used the button well. He's made some good raises. To be fair, Hoofy hasn't had too many hands, and he's going to need to pick up something if he wants to turn this round. Sorry, boys and girls, I have to contend with the fluctuating emotions of Miss Scott, am I right?
I can never play live. I've got no poker face whatsoever.
You could play live.
Oh,
I bet you've got to. I've seen your game face. Look at this. Hoofy's found aces, not a moment too soon. But Bojangles got quite a good hand to play against them. There's no good hand to play against aces, really, but he's got a suited connector. Well, Bojangles is going to double him up. Very nice for Hoofy. What a great time to find the aces. And that makes it more competitive. And as we said at the start of this, Hoofy was down on chips, but he was by no means out because the blinds are not going up quickly. The one tables we usually show, the blinds go up very fast, and the small stack has much less chance because he has to go all in very, in the space of 4 or 5 hands. This format, he can take his time. He can't wait forever, but he can wait for some decent hands. And one of those did come along. Kara's doing the dance, everyone. What could that mean? Hoofy's got the 9s. He's going to move all in over the top. And Hoofy's battled back now. It's only a 2-to-1 chip advantage. We've got a match now, haven't we? And we've got 2 aces. I wonder if this will see the money go in. Well, neither of them's hit anything, and if the money was going to go in, it was going to be before the flop. And that'll be enough to take it. Oh, it won't. Great play from Hoofy. I was very presumptuous. Fantastic re-raise. Hoofy grinding his way back impressively. He's made a real go of this. Well, we're almost 50-50 we're at now, almost. And slightly loose call from Bojangles. I wonder if he's getting a bit frustrated. Must be difficult. Must be difficult. Had that big chip lead and it's been ground away, and he made a slightly loose call there with 8-7. And he's got away with it, hasn't he? He's hit his card at the death. They had plenty of outs, had the straight draw, could have hit a pair as well. And Hoofy pays him off, and he's re-established that chip lead a little bit. That was an interesting hand, because Bojangles probably shouldn't have called before the flop, but ended up paying off for him. Well, both have kings. Oh, this could be a double 3 for Hoofy here. Bojangles is going to find it impossible to get away from this. Top pair heads up, obviously, is a big hand. Yeah, he couldn't get away from it, and Hoofy doubles up and takes the chip lead. Can you imagine that? Well played, Hoofy. He really has ground this one out. Well, it's anybody's game all of a sudden, and the blinds are still quite small, so this confrontation could go on for a little while. Hoofy, Bojangles, would be nice to hear from you both after this. poker@pokernight.live.co.uk. It's given us some great TV, really, really good heads-up match. And at the start, it looked like Bojangles was just going to make this routine and press his advantage and take it home. But Hoofy is not one to be run over, and he has built back up and now has a decent chip lead. Position here, and he'll take down another one, and this must be disheartening for Bojangles. When this happens in a heads-up match, you really need to dig deep. Keep your focus and not be frustrated into making bad mistakes. For example, if Hoofy comes over here, Bojangles needs to fold this. He needs to realise he's beaten. Well done, Bojangles. He's now really up against it, and he was in a commanding lead. And heads-up is about emotion and playing the other player as much as it is about the cards or anything else. And if you've gone from being the big chip leader to being the small stack, which will happen to you quite a lot heads up because there are big swings and a reasonably high luck factor, you must keep your focus. You must still make good decisions. Bojangles looks like he's doing that. I haven't seen any signs of frustration. There haven't been any kind of desperation all-ins. The cards have deserted him when he needs them most. Well, Hoofy seems to have calmed down a little bit now, having got the chip lead, and he seems to be playing a little bit more solid.
So what are they playing for here?
That's your way of announcing that you've returned.
I am back in the studio.
Well done.
So what are they actually
Welcome back.
playing
Did you have
for
a fun
here?
game?
I had a great game. I really enjoyed it.
That's good. And is it going to help us from a learning perspective?
I hope so. I made a few wrong moves, I definitely think so. And a few things I just did that were silly, and I'm not entirely sure why. But generally, I think so.
And are the people in the chat box going to send us emails?
Well, I've been asking them.
Well, they better be good. Well, we'll look forward to that. You'll be able to see Kara's game in about half an hour after the next break, and hopefully it'll give us some talking points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good fun. I enjoy that. I like. I think we should do more be the presenter heads up though as well. It'd be nice to get some of the TV tables at heads up, maybe at $5 instead of the $10 and $50, because obviously that's a bit out of my price range.
Well,
not that I haven't won them before.
Sure. Sorry to cut across you. Bojangles, sorry. Bojangles is in trouble here. He does get away from it. Having a titanic struggle, Kara, what have you been playing between these two? Yeah. It's a heads-up game with small blinds, which has made it possible. Bojangles was up to 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 to 1 edge he had over Who Farted, and that's been completely flipped around. We got a little technical hiccup.
Was that a hiccup or a cough?
That was my joke. I did a cough but said hiccup.
I see.
You see.
You're
Sorry about that,
man.
guys. I was really enjoying that.
Yeah, no, so was I. Well,
really
we'll probably
good
be coming back to
conversation.
that, hopefully,
Okay.
because that is quite interesting.
Hope
It's
we
always
can.
nice to see what some of the regulars are playing as well, the tables.
Yes.
Right, but I do believe that there's a heads up on the other table. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll try to come back to this if we can. But we'll go to this one in the meantime, through the
Okay.
matrix.
This is between Moonchester and Alan. And Alan's flop 2 pair, but it has been counterfeited. And Moonchester made a straight, so this could be the end of this. I mean, Alan should be able to get away from it. He's basically only got a 9 now. Obviously, his 7 doesn't count for anything because the king's on board. And he didn't go broke on the hand. Reminding you that these tournaments are playing for a place in the final, which we'll show later in this free roll. And this one could be over if Moonchester can hit an ace. He can't, so Alan will double up. And they're competitive. They're levels you devils. They're playing for a place in the final, which we'll show later, and then the winner of the final gets to play in our live studio final here in the Poker Bowl, and they're playing for a share of $8,000, I believe. So massive incentive to get involved in this, guys. All you need is the access code from Poker Player magazine, and you can play in this free roll. Free money. Where else do you get that in life?
Not very many places.
No.
It has to be said.
Apart from your mum's purse, of course.
Well, that's not free, is it? That's just immoral.
You're only stealing from yourself, inheritance-wise, so...
Oh, rubbish. Sue, if you're listening.
She knows I would never.
I should hope not. There's a lot to be learned from heads-up play.
There is a lot to be learned. What have you learned most from watching and playing Heads Up, Kara?
Well, what I learned actually today, what I'm learning today, is that I still don't have a good grasp of what it means to step up in the aggression. I still don't have that. I don't get an automatic read on the cards I've got in front of me as to what I should do with them. Heads up, or even just short-handed.
The thing to understand is that when you're in that mode, either towards the end of a tournament or in a heads-up game, is that you're not playing the cards.
Yeah.
The cards are part of your decision, but only a part. You should also be thinking about your position, your opponents.
Yeah.
And you should always think about these things, but they become much more prominent when you're playing short-handed.
Yeah.
And your stack size and that kind of thing. So it's a little adjustment in your thinking. When you're playing at a full table, the cards are one of the higher priorities that you have because there's so much more likelihood that there will be good hands out against you.
Better cards out there.
So yeah. But it is difficult. It's about experience, and you know, if you can do what we'll do at some point, which is find somebody who's experienced at that to teach you, that helps.
This is true. I'm very lucky to get the poker tuition, I have to say. I'm exceptionally lucky.
I think we've got an email about Heads Up actually, which we could do after we've watched this.
I know, I did think so. Did you have a chance to get through any emails while I was
No,
away?
because we had some very exciting poker action.
Oh, I see.
And I feel slightly robbed. I'm sure people do at home. I do apologise that we couldn't show you the end of that one. I hope we can get it back. Apparently the technicians are working on it.
Oh, good, because I do want to actually see that. I feel I missed a bit of poker history there.
I didn't know we had technicians. That's
Apparently
brilliant.
they're working on it right now.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. Well, again, nobody has anything, and this will happen time after time, heads up, and the person that bets first takes it. When you start playing against good heads-up players, it's often the person that bets last that takes it. So, well, there's always the person that bets last that takes it. What I mean is somebody will bet, somebody else will think you don't have anything and raise them.
Yeah, and the other person will fold unless they actually do have a hand, which is very unlikely.
In fact, I'll tell you what you can do. I'll show it to you in the break, Kara.
Yeah?
Boys and girls at home, if you go to YouTube and type in Phil Ivey, you can see the ultimate expression of that in that there's a hand which poker fanatics will already be familiar with from the Monte Carlo Millions, where neither he nor his opponent had anything heads up on the flop, and they put in, I think, 5 raises. The last one is Phil Ivey's, where he goes all in and forces the other player to fold. Extraordinary display of poker.
It is. It's amazing that he didn't put his opponent on a hand and continued to
Alan
re-raise.
has won. He's been very lucky there.
Alan.
He's hit his threes, and we'll see Alan in the final.
Indeed we will. Indeed we will.
Hope he doesn't object to being called Alan. If you are going to put in that name, you are going to be called Alan. That's how it works.
Yeah.
If you want to email us in with your real name, I'm happy to call you that. I can't call you Nkwahoxa because it's
Doesn't
silly.
work.
No. So.
But thanks for trying.
But poker@pokerlightlive.co.uk if you want to tell me your real name, Alan. Then we
Until
can use
then,
it for
you're
the
Alan who
final.
wears a cardigan. A lot of Alans in my mind, they just do. They do seem to, don't they?
Yeah, sure they do.
Right.
And they wear string-back gloves for driving. They do.
Casting no aspersions on any Allens out there, but we've had fantastic news from the technicians, and I think we've actually managed to reload the game that we were watching before.
Good.
So let's go
Sounds
back
very
and
good.
see what's going on there.
It was an epic confrontation.
The clash of the titans. Bring it on.
Yeah, and Hoofy played very well to survive. Had some hands at the right time, to be fair. He did have, he had the aces when he was quite short stacked, which doubled him up, but has played very well. And in fact, they've both played well, so kudos to both of them. But Bojangles is the one up against it now, and he needs to make a stand. Will it be with this hand? It won't, but it's not going to be long. It's costing him an average of 225 chips to see a hand, so if he does nothing, he's only got 4.5 hands to go, and he makes the move to try and steal, and he's got away with it.
Hey.
Doubles through with the 6-4.
And there we go. It can be quite difficult to, if you're the short stack going in heads up, you have to really play quite disciplined, I think, don't you? And you have to have quite a lot of guts to put your money in against a bigger stack who can obviously cover any bet that you make.
Yes.
But then keep in mind that your opponent is probably not going to want to help you double through. So if they don't actually have cards, then they're not going to play.
Sure. What?
And there you go. So Bojangles is actually making his comeback now.
Oh, this could be trouble.
No, this really could.
Well,
Getting an ace heads up, it's too...
Now, it depends whether he's picked up on the fact that Hoofy limps on the button. You see, he hasn't, and he should have done by now, because Hoofy's done that 2 or 3 times. Hoofy limps on the button with a big hand, hasn't picked up on it, and it's cost him. It's a key part of heads up. People ask for advice on heads up. I think we've got an email asking for advice on heads up, which we'll do at some point tonight.
We will.
The biggest piece of advice I can give you is that your awareness should be at its maximum at the poker table when you're playing a heads-up match.
Right, because there's only one person that
There's
you're
only
watching.
one person, and you need to pick up on what they're doing.
Right.
Most poker players, like most human beings, will fall into a predictable pattern at some stage. It's only the very, very good players that can vary their play all of the time. And that's actually one of the factors that separates the very good players from the average player. They can constantly vary that. They can play a number of different styles. Hoofy there was limping on the button every time he had a big hand.
Yeah.
Every time. And there was a possibility that Bojangles could have picked up on that. He obviously didn't pick up on that, and his ace
Walked
7
into
got
the
played.
trap, yeah.
But well played, Hoofy. Well played, both of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly well done to Hoofy, coming back from, I think, a 5-1 chip deficit.
Well done. And
Kudos.
you go through, and what does he win?
We'll see him in the final, Kara. He's already won a share of tonight's free money.
Very, very nice. Well done, Hoofy. It's always nice to see some of the regulars getting in there and scrapping it out on the poker table.
Well, we'd love an email from both of you, because it was an epic battle.
Clash of the Titans, well done. And we do have a few emails to get to take a look at as well. I think I'm going to just do one to start with. This
Fine.
one is from one of the players we saw earlier tonight. This is Miss Votovova, and she's one of our female players, obviously. And here we go. It says, "Evening, Kara and Nick. Looking forward to a good show tonight. Well, thank you for the vote of confidence. I haven't been playing much recently. I'm losing the poker buzz just a bit. I went to a casino in Southampton on a Monday night for the 3rd time, only a small £5 rebuy event. The first time I went, I felt very uneasy as there were only 2 other girls sat down. For the first 30 minutes, I hated it. I was always getting raised on my big blind and unable to play hardly any flops. But I got chatty with the guy on the table and told him or them that I played online a lot, and I mentioned my name. All of a sudden, I get a bit of respect as few of the guys play online and they recognized my name. My thoughts on your theme tonight are, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, reputation is everything. Still played awful and got nowhere, but I will be back, tar-tar. And that's Miss Vodovova. And I would say you're absolutely right, reputation is everything, but it does show if you sat down and they were always trying to steal your blinds and they didn't know who you were, they just saw you sat down maybe, I don't know if, but maybe they saw you sat down as a female player and thought they could bully you, then I think it does matter just a little bit. I think it does. It does matter just a little bit.
I think that male players will try and bully female players they don't know.
Right.
I think that's
just to
true.
see if it's possible.
Yeah, and just, it's unfortunately it's male ego trying to assert itself over women.
Yeah.
And that's then the natural instinct is to bully women more. And I talked to a female poker pro acquaintance in America of mine about that, and she said it's one of the big disadvantages of being a female poker player.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very difficult to know when she found it very difficult to know when a male player was just being aggressive or when he had the cards, or when he was bullying her. The key point about Mrs. Votovova's email is that she's right. Reputation has to be earned. That's the thing.
Very true.
I went with my little sister to a casino in Newcastle recently, and Helen's been playing poker for a year or two, and she's a very solid player. And she was very frustrated that she wasn't getting any respect from the male players.
Yeah.
And I said, look, the bottom line is they don't know you. They don't know who you are. If they don't know you, they will assume that you don't know how to play. Well, they will.
But I suppose if you can, then you can use it to your advantage.
Oh, yeah, you can use... The beautiful thing about poker is you can use anything to your advantage.
Right.
Because there is, for every... The thing about poker that's great is that for every move, there is a counter move.
Yeah.
There's always something you can do. So if people are stealing from you more, or bullying you more, well, there's two things you can do. You can either re-raise them with nothing, so you punch them in the nose, and then you show the whole table that you re-raise them with nothing, and they'll think twice. And actually, you can even do that if you lose the hand, because it'll still make them think twice.
Yeah.
The other thing that you can do is you can just wait and be
Wait for
patient and play
hands.
solid, and then do it to them. But don't let it affect you. If you're a female player playing in a male environment, or you're a new player playing live for the first time, Mrs. Votovova's right. Reputation has to be earned. And that's true in anything in life.
It is.
So don't let it affect you. Don't let it get you if people aren't taking you seriously. Just play the cards you're dealt and the situations you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't let it get you. I think that's probably the key point there.
Don't let those nasty people bully you.
Yeah, don't let them push you around
Yeah.
just because you're a girl.
Exactly.
Terrible. Right, here's another email. This one is from Smoba. And Smoba, this is the one about heads up play, so thank you for emailing this in. Smoba says, hi guys, I emailed some weeks ago about my inability to play heads up. In my last email, I outlined how I generally play $10 and $20 six-seater sit and goes, no limit hold'em. 70% of the time, I will make the last two. But no matter how many chips I have, the majority of the time, I will lose. I've tried being more aggressive to no avail. Help. Love the show. It'd be good to get a bit more information on how you're being more aggressive, because I thought I was being more aggressive and I wasn't. So,
According to me.
according to you, my poker guru. So what do you think there? Because it
Smoba's
is
clearly
aggressiveness.
emailed in on a night where me and you weren't on, because he would have this all cleared up, wouldn't he?
Absolutely.
Like you said, it's very hard to advise you, Smoba, because we obviously don't know what you're doing or how you're playing, so I have to make certain assumptions
Right.
about that. I don't know what advice was given to you last time. Be more aggressive is probably one of them. Did he email? Can you remember? Did he email him when
I
we were
don't
on?
recall.
Joking aside, I can't remember. The problem is that with heads-up play, there is a lot of variance, stroke high, if you want to call it a high luck factor, you
Yeah.
count as high variance factor. It is possible to lose several heads-up in a row
Yeah.
and not be doing too much wrong. You've emailed in twice, so obviously you think it's a problem. I wonder, have you done what we recommend, which is to go and play some heads-up matches? Now, you don't have to play them for money. You can play them for play money on the site. It will still help you because you'll still learn the dynamics of the game and you know,
Yeah.
how to make chips heads up. But you need to get some experience. And if the only time you're getting experience is when you reach the end of a sit and go, then your confidence is probably not that high because you don't have a good record at that point. Now, that bad record might be due to bad cards, bad situations, or it might be due to the fact you don't play well in that situation. Either way, you need to get your confidence up, because nowhere, Kara Scott, is confidence more evident
Yes, than in
heads
heads-up
up.
play.
Because very often the more aggressive player will win, and very often the stronger player, both in terms of their level of play but their personality as well, will win. Because you do need to be confident, you do need to know when to take a risk. If you're playing sit and goes with high blinds at the end, then it may just be that you're getting bad cards, because then you will need some cards.
That does make a difference.
You will need some cards.
If you're playing a heads-up match, strictly heads-up, it's a little...
Well, it's a little easier.
Yeah.
That heads-up match we watched on the Poker Player Shootout, the blinds were low, and so the players could manoeuvre, and it's a better test of your ability.
Yeah, it's a little less luck-based, isn't it?
All I can recommend, Smoba, is that you educate yourself. I would get Harrington on Holden Volume 2. That's the only decent writing about heads-up I found. And that you get more experience. Go and play. And be critical of your play. Don't just keep doing the things you've done. This goes for everybody with any problem in poker or in life. Any problem, anything you can't master. Ask yourself what you're doing and do something different. Even if when you ask yourself what you're doing, you can't solve it in your head, just try something different. Even if it's wrong, try something different. Keep trying different things and you'll find the solution much quicker instead of keeping going down the same channel. If possible, take a big step back and think, well, why is it? Why am I losing? Why is it not happening for me? But definitely you need to get experience heads up, because it's such a peculiar thing. Talked for a long time then, didn't I?
You did.
Sorry.
You did. No, but you're right, and it's very good advice, because they say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result.
With a woman.
Right. Email from Alan. Last one here before we go to a break.
Is this the Alan? Or is it just a general
I'm
Alan?
not entirely sure, but I'm hoping it is. This might be just a Alan. Do you wear a cardigan? Not sure. Hi guys, everybody says love this show, and it's true. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been becoming disillusioned with the game though, constantly getting outdrawn and losing on houses and flushes, but I think I've battled through it without changing my game too much. And I won a $3 9-player single table just now. Yippee! Well done, so that's fantastic. I've been playing for just over a year and I've won 4 or 5 multi-table tournaments with over 300 people, $3 to $5, and I've kept a record and I'm just under break even over the year, so that's really good as well. I can't play cash games though for some reason, and I always lose. I have 2 questions. As a benchmark, how many times do you need to bluff, for example? Once every 10 hands, once every 30 minutes? Is there a general rule of thumb? And the other question is about cash games. What's the difference with an MTT? Because I seem to lose in every cash game I play. Thanks so much. So 2 questions there. Let's tackle the first one
first. Is he allowed 2?
I think...
You're in generous mood.
I am.
It's nice.
It's
good to see. Have to. There they are. Bluffing. How often do you bluff? Well, the technical answer is bluff when it's profitable. And that could happen...
What does that mean?
That could happen in back-to-back hands, or that could happen once in 3 days.
Right. So it's situational.
It is situational. It's not a case of every so often. The rule of thumb would be that you should bluff much less than you think. If you watch the play on Poker Night Live, this is much less bluffing in poker than people think.
Yeah.
How often you bluff depends on the situation. Basically, the thing to bear in mind, this sounds incredibly basic, but you must get this into your thinking, is that when you make a bluff, you must be right. We've talked about 2 ways of winning at poker: making the other person fold their hand or having the best hand. By definition, when you bluff, you don't have the best hand. So you only have one way to win, so that means it carries a much bigger risk with it. So it needs to be used sparingly, okay? So you should only be doing it when you think there's a very good chance that your opponent will throw his hands away, and when it's the only way that you can make money in the hand. We're short on time, so I can't get to like the maths of it, but I will happily do that after the break, and we'll answer about cash games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. Bluff when it's profitable as a short answer, but do stay tuned because we'll come back to it. And we'll answer it in more detail after the break. We've also got the Beat the Presenter after the break.
Starring.
That would have been me. And
with analysis.
And the analysis glasses are on.
Did you bring yours?
I did, in fact. We will look at it properly and analyse each hand. So thank you very much for watching the first 2 hours. Stay tuned. Lots more to come.
Send us an email.
Hello and welcome back to Poker Night Live. We're here in our 3rd hour, and we've got a jam-packed hour for you here of all kinds of poker. We've got the Beat the Presenter. We've still got some of our MTT left that we've not really... Did we do all the MTT? Was it just the shootout?
Shootout.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
Is that it?
So,
Well, we still have
got
a
the
lot.
final of the shootout, Kara. It's exciting.
No, it was very exciting. And we've got some emails from some of the people who were involved in that, which is also, again,
that's good, yeah.
very exciting. And more emails. And we, right before the break, did an email from Alan.
I should just say, I'm sorry I got cross about the emails thing.
You did. You got a bit stern.
And I got a bit hyper about it and just shouted before the break. And
it doesn't work.
You have, well, it has. I mean, sometimes you have to, with the stick, don't you? It's the only language people I'm pulling back from that now. You've responded as ever. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sorry for getting cross.
Yeah, and do continue to email in.
Sure.
For example, Alan emailed in before the break.
Yes.
We read through this, and he was talking about, not heads up.
We did a bit on bluffing, didn't we?
Yep, bluffing and when you should bluff.
Let me very quickly give you the maths.
Absolutely.
Just to finish off bluffing.
Go for it.
The theory of poker is the place to go for this. I'm trying to think of a very, very simplistic example. If you, let's say you're playing a limit game and there's $100 in the pot and it's going to cost you $10 to bet, let's say.
Okay.
So limit games with structured betting to
Yep.
make this an easier example. Let's say you want to make a bluff.
Right.
For that bluff to be profitable, it's going to have to succeed more than once every 10 times.
Right.
So actually bluffing is as mathematical as the rest of the game. You're betting 10 to win 100, so that's 10 to 1. So in order for your bet to be profitable, your bluff needs to succeed more than 10% of the time in that very simplistic example. And obviously it's much more difficult than that, and it's very, very difficult to know the likelihood of success of your bluff. But in theoretical terms, as you've asked, that's the answer. Basically, judgment and experience are what will tell you whether it's a profitable point to make a bluff or not.
Right.
But that's bluffing.
Done. Okay, second question
Yeah.
was, he says he seems to lose every cash game that he plays in. He's doing really well on MTTs. So what's the difference, the main difference between MTTs and cash games? Where should he be switching his gears?
Big difference, Karen.
Massive difference.
Massive, huge. More than, I can't...
His arms
It's
are
out
not
of shot.
long enough.
Well, they are,
Yeah.
but it's out of shot.
It's all the way on the other side of the room.
Well, you know the difference as well as I, don't you?
I think I do. You need to have the tighter standards in a cash game because you don't have to worry about the blinds going up.
Yes.
So you're not being pushed by the relative size of your chip stack to the blinds into making moves where, you know, maybe you shouldn't be making moves. Or you don't need to because you're not worried about the time structure. You can dip into a cash game and when you feel like it, you can back out. You don't have to be pushed into pots.
That's right, the blinds don't change. You should
Sorry,
have enough.
I should have just said that. The blinds don't change.
No, everything you said was bang on. The blinds don't change, so you should always have enough money in relation to the blinds. Otherwise, you're in the wrong cash game. So you're not forced to play anything like as much as you are in tournaments. So everybody else has the same situation, which means that everybody's starting hand standards are higher.
Yep.
So yours need to be 2. If you
Very
want to have
strict.
If you want to have a winning edge, you want to start off with better hands than other players, unless you have the ability to play worse hands much better than them. But as a beginner or intermediate player, you should concentrate on having better hands at the start. And that's the key difference. And I suspect what you're doing, Alan, is you're using your multi-table tournament game in cash games.
Right.
Or you may be aware of this and you may not be adjusting enough. The other thing about cash games is that because you have no tournament life, in a tournament if you lose all your chips, you're gone. In a cash game you can rebuy, so you should call slightly more often.
Right.
Because of that. Because there are some calls you wouldn't make in a tournament because you're jeopardising your whole tournament. Cash games you call slightly more often. Don't get carried away with that. It's just there is a difference. Cash games also, the other key point about them is you need to make sure you have enough money in your bankroll or enough money available to you in the wider world so that the cash game you're playing in, if you go broke, it doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to call for all of your... Let's say you're playing 25-cent, 50-cent game, which we've shown tonight, $50 on the table. You have to be able to be comfortable putting all of that $50 in on one hand.
Yeah, and risking it
Now,
all.
it's different to tournaments, and a lot of people who are good at tournaments are not good at cash games because of the emotion involved of seeing the money on screen and losing the money and having to go and get more money. It's much harder than losing tournament chips.
It's true. I think you're absolutely right.
That affects a lot of players. And I would actually suggest, controversial, I would suggest that cash games are a better test of a poker player than tournaments.
Really?
For that reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Controversial.
Controversial. Do you disagree? Anyone else having problems with cash games you want to get in touch, or anyone else got advice on cash games? That would be cool.
Well, a bit of second-hand advice from me, probably originating with you, is that if you often get bored in a cash game, you might start playing hands that you shouldn't, because you just want to get into a hand, because in a cash game it does tend to be quite tight. You're not going to want to steal the blinds as much because they're just not going to be worth risking your stack over. So maybe play more than one, maybe play a sit and go at the same time as a cash game, and that way you won't feel bored and like you need to play more hands.
Yeah, I mean the final thing to say, until we get more emails on the subject, is don't feel you have to play cash games. If you're doing well at tournaments and you're a winning tournament player and you, first and foremost, you enjoy tournaments more, you don't have to play cash games.
Yeah,
Nowadays.
absolutely. You don't feel like you need to just to justify your standing as a poker player.
Just because I said it makes you, a good player if you're good at cash games, that's not. Don't be provoked.
And certainly don't play against Nick if you're not a very good player, because apparently you're, very, very good. That makes you the expert.
Yes, thanks, Karen.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thanks to Hoofy as well, who we just watched in the Poker Players Shootout. He's emailed in as well. Here's an email from Hoof. Says, I think that heads up was the tensest thing that I've ever played. Your words about emotion are very true, Nick. I was so conscious of trying to keep a clear head and concentrate on what I was doing. Very enjoyable to get such a long heads up game, and nice to see it on the TV. Well, it was nice for all of us, really. And like you say, it's nice to see a long one where it's not just you're all in, he's all in, you're all in, he's all in, game's over. Actually being able to work with the blinds being a bit lower it was quite nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's the other thing we were talking about heads up earlier. I'm glad if you did enjoy that. If you don't enjoy a long heads-up battle, I would submit that you don't really enjoy poker as much as you think, because a long heads-up battle is poker in its purest form.
It's exhilarating.
It's a proper battle.
It is really
you
exhilarating.
against the other guy.
Yeah.
And you should want to take him out. Take him down.
Yes.
Chinatown. But Hoofy did really, really well. He did brilliantly.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you, Hoofy. And it's interesting he said he was trying to concentrate and keep a clear head, because that is what you have to do.
Okay.
That's what you have to do, and that's the challenge of it. We see a lot of players, when we do watch Heads Up, or we do watch the end of my table tournament, a lot of players panic too soon. They don't want the pressure of making lots of decisions, and they go all in too soon. You just need to keep making decisions and keep your focus.
There you go. Now, anyone else out there has any questions? Maybe some of the other people who are playing on the TV tables want to email in and let us know how they're feeling about certain hands, or maybe what they could do to improve. There you go. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email address. Do drop us a line and let us know.
We've also got a good couple of things to talk more about now, which is cash games. Different from tournaments, that's a good thing to talk about, especially for newer players, and heads up is always a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, anyone out there who's made the transition from tournaments to cash games, what did you find difficult and how did you overcome that? Because it does seem to be quite a common theme.
How would you combine a barbecue with a poker game?
How would that happen?
I've been working on this for some time, I don't have the answer.
Well, you need more than one person to be at your barbecue. You need to start, inviting people and having
you always
friends.
say that.
And it's hard to play poker by yourself.
You'd be surprised.
Deal out all the hands, and it's just bluffing makes it quite difficult.
I have
against
quite
yourself.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always know when I'm bluffing.
You
Read me
are
like a book.
so intuitive, so intuitive. Now, speaking of bluffing, we've got My Beat the Presenter coming up. I did try to bluff a little too much in the beginning, but you'll see why. I hope that we get to start on the first hand, because that was quite exciting.
You got your analysis glasses?
I do have my analysis glasses,
Here we go.
Let's go take a look.
Let the analysis begin.
Here comes the first hand. This is very exciting. Now look at that, I got kings.
First up, first hand.
Thank you.
My goodness. What do you like to do with your kings?
Well, I make my standard bet.
Sure. Okay. Well, ace-jack, you might get some play from.
You would think so. And look at that, in the chat box, Mr. Damn Tilt again said, I'm on TV, I'm going all in.
And you called pretty quickly.
I did.
And
I got kings. What have you got?
Then you got very scared.
I did. I got really scared. I thought, oh no, something's going to come down, but it didn't.
Well, only an ace would have got him out of that.
And I've got 2,000 chips.
How good is that?
That's very good.
Now
Very exciting.
That gives you nice glasses.
Thank you. That gave me quite a buzz, I have to say. And at this point, I then started to lose the chips because I had quite an amazing buzz. My head was all fizzy.
Didn't we?
And,
your head was all fizzy.
it was all fizzy
Didn't
with the
we talk
joy.
about this on a previous show?
We
Didn't we
did.
talk about the excitement of getting lots of chips?
Yep. Getting nicely, you know, get a big stack early on in a tournament and then not being able to actually slow down and play properly
Because you're excited.
again. And I did. I was overly excited. And I have to say the next few rounds here are not going to be pretty to watch. And I apologize because I was being silly. I thought, ooh, I can start bullying people. Not so much. Not so fair. So there we go. We're down to 7 players already.
Well, that was a gift.
Yeah, it was an absolute gift.
Did somebody in the chat box say
That I shouldn't have
You
actually
shouldn't have
called
called.
that. I didn't think I could
I think
not.
they must have been joking.
I think they must have. I thought with kings, I mean, maybe he did have aces, but even still, for the amount of, for the odds that I'd be getting, the pot odds and whatnot, the amount of chips in the pot.
Well, not that. No, the
No?
pods. No, that doesn't affect it.
Does it not affect it?
Well, no, because you're only getting. Well, it does affect it to some degree, but not in the way you described.
Okay.
You're only getting even money from the pot
Right.
because you've got 1,000 chips. He's got
Yeah.
1,000 chips. Kings versus aces. You're only a 20% chance to beat the aces. I think it's actually 18% or something. So you're not getting the right pot odds.
Okay.
But the point is, he almost certainly doesn't have aces.
Difficult though if he's going to raise in an early position like that.
He doesn't have aces.
Yeah, I didn't
I
think he
don't
did.
think anyone's done that with aces in the history of
And he
poker.
limped in.
No, he's in the big blind.
Was he? Oh, okay. There you go.
You knew at the time, though. You knew at the time because
It
you're
just felt
motioning to
right.
me.
Yeah.
He's not gonna. He's got the best hand in poker. He's not going to put all of his chips in because the likelihood is
Of
that
course.
you won't play.
Exactly.
So you can pretty much guarantee he's doesn't have aces.
Ah.
I actually would have expected him to turn over ace king
Yeah.
because people sometimes do that with ace king.
Yeah.
I don't know why,
I've done it myself and I've lost.
but you haven't done it with the blinds at that level.
No, I haven't. Well, I probably did when I first started, but I wouldn't have expected that from one of our regular players. So there we go. I've
He
doubled
was
my
having
chips,
a bit of
and
fun,
I didn't know.
and he ran into kings.
Ran into
So-
the great Scott.
This is interesting because we haven't had this on Beat the Presenter when I've been that the presenter has doubled up very, very early.
Yeah.
And it gives us a new situation, different challenges.
I wish I'd played more steadily, I have to say. I mean, up to this point, I've been folding hands and whatnot. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm being too hard on myself. We'll have to see what happens here. There I'm last position. People are calling.
Not quite last,
Well,
penultimate.
pardon me. Just before the button. And I'm thinking, should I try to steal here? I've got ace 9. I got a lot of chips. Maybe I can bully some people.
Yeah,
So I try to steal.
that's all right.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a good chance you got the best hand. Unfortunately for you, the best hand is sitting on the button.
Yeah.
But
I wasn't sure if I should believe that or not.
a lot of times with one limper and 4 people out of the hand, you may well have the best hand.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if I should trust it.
Well,
And I
as you
think
can
that's
see
an
now,
emotional.
You were right.
Absolutely. It was a completely emotional response, thinking, okay, are they just doing this because...
You always think people are making a move on
I
you.
know. And it's always nice to see that they're not. They actually, Crespo did have a better hand than I did. And again, I'm trying to make a move. And see, I went a little bit mad here.
It's not the maddest thing you've ever done.
No.
And also, you'll bet here, won't you?
Yeah.
Well, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know it is. He's checked to you, he's shown you weakness, you're in a late position, and also there's a very good chance you've got the best hand here.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I mean, as flops go, it's not so bad. So 75
it's
and a
good-
pot of
It's
130.
a very good flop for a pair of 7s. He comes over the top, and
Yeah.
what do you do?
No, I put them down.
So you say, that's immaculate, what's wrong with you?
I know, but I lost chips, and at this point I'm going, oh no, I had 2,000 chips, and now
Sometimes in poker Carol we lose chips.
I know.
I
But
mean,
find it difficult.
you could argue you shouldn't have come into the hand with 7s.
Yeah.
But then,
Maybe I shouldn't try to steal twice in a row. I was getting a bit cocky.
a little bit cocky.
No, I gotta say.
But
I was.
both times your opponents had hands. Both times, as soon
Yeah.
as they raised you, you threw your hand away.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do much more than that.
Okay, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on myself. I dislike losing chips. I was thinking, oh, look at that. I've got all these chips and now I can really play and la-di-da.
Yeah, la-di-da.
Lady muckety-muck, me with all my chips.
Now, at this point, you got up to 2,000 chips. You've gone back down a little bit.
Yeah.
Were you,
Sorry. Taking it so hard.
were you thinking, I better slow down?
Yeah.
You were?
That's exactly what I was
Right,
thinking.
okay.
Don't be so silly. Don't lose the edge that you've got. That would just be ridiculous. So I'm telling myself to have better standards. Raise those standards again, girl. What are you doing? And I'm glad I did, because the pair of jacks, they're right behind me. A king 10. King 10 lets it go, which is good. That's what I would do as well, but it can be quite difficult to put down matching cards as well. Ace king there for Aramir. Sounds vaguely two towerish.
Doesn't it?
Aramir. I like it. Wow.
Exciting folds. You know, even the folds are dynamic on Poker Night Live. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yes, they are. Yeah, it was nice to sit down at a table where I didn't actually know everyone sat down at the table. It felt like, yeah, an easier place to sit down. It can be a bit scary sometimes playing against the people. For example, I'll stop waffling. There was another table, and I would have been sat right next to Johan Herren, who has, I felt quite, I know he wasn't bullying me in particular, but he's a very strong player, and I felt quite beat by him, and therefore I didn't want to sit beside him where he could steal my blinds.
Well,
so I didn't.
I think, you know, and the flush is made, but Hayes probably won't give any action. You just checked that. That was quite weird. Well, I think that, you know, it's an interesting tip for people watching is if there's a game available or a seat available, and for whatever reason, even if you're wrong,
Yeah.
for whatever reason you're not comfortable playing that game,
Yeah.
that's
Don't play
key.
scared money.
Don't play. Don't play.
That's what I was thinking. I just rewatched that show we did with Johnny Chan. Do you remember that when we had Johnny Chan on the show? The great Johnny Chan.
Yes, I do remember
10-time
that.
World
That
Series
was
of
very
Poker
good.
bracelet winner. Yeah.
And that was me and you that did that.
That was me and you that did that. And I do recall, and I did watch today, him saying, do not play scared money. And so I thought, no, I'm not going to pick that table. I'm going to go to this other table where I don't know everyone as much, and I don't feel like I'll be playing scared money.
Yeah. Well, that's a good decision.
Thanks.
Those aren't my words. They're the words of J. Chan Esquire. I've got some footage of Johnny Chan playing a cash game I have to show you.
I think I've seen it, haven't I?
No, that's him playing the World Series.
Oh, I see. You've got quite the extensive poker library, Mr. Wealthall.
Very much so. I'm quite keen on poker. I don't know if I...
Are you?
Yeah, no, yes.
Oh, I hadn't realised.
Yeah,
Do you often use that as a, come back to my flat and we can watch a bit of poker?
You'd be amazed how much it doesn't work. We can what?
Watch a bit of what?
I think, no, we're talking about women in the game. We're talking about women in the game, and my chances of finding a top lady who likes poker must be increasing by the day.
Yeah, you must think so.
Because the number of women that
Young
like poker...
ladies taking it up.
I just realised that. It's very, very encouraging.
The pool of potential mates is... The pool of potential mates is getting bigger.
Very excited about being the godfather.
I know, that's really nice.
Yeah, very proud moment for me.
It will be.
Up to now, Kerr, if I'm honest, my life has been largely completely irresponsible.
I've limped in there with Queen Jack. What do you think of that?
Yes.
Is that all right? It's suited. Should I have...
I think it's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Do you think it's fine?
I thought it was fine. But then obviously, nice flush draw comes down on the board, and it's not my flush draw.
No, this is not a hand that you're going to have anything to do with, is it?
So we all checked it down, and I thought, no.
Yeah, Queen Jack suited is a limping hand.
Mm-hmm.
If you were playing very tight in a different situation, you might throw it away in first position, but in a sit and go, you need to make chips. It's the kind of hand you can make a big hand with. I think the limp is probably right.
Okay.
Flush versus flush, and this is one of those situations where there's a test of players' judgments.
Sorry, I kicked you under the table just then and distracted you from the game at hand.
Thanks very much.
I apologise.
What have I ever done to you?
I didn't kick you hard.
Is that what people who commit domestic abuse say?
And I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. So I've been playing a lot more tight now since my little, what I thought was a bit of a mad streak where I got into a couple of pots and had to put the hand down. As you've said, it's not a mad streak. It's not like I went all in with bad cards. As soon as I was re-raised, I put them down. But now I've tightened up quite a bit.
I think it's still there, but you're slowly losing the fear that people are making moves on you, I think.
I think so. I think so.
You've seen enough evidence that when people re-raise you, they usually have hands.
Yeah.
You've got to think about it from their perspective. From any poker player's perspective, it's a very bold move to re-raise somebody when you're bluffing. Now, the very good players do it.
Yeah.
Some very aggressive wild players do it routinely. But for most poker players, that's a very dangerous thing to do because you've already said you've got something. They don't have anything. So they don't know whether you've got something amazing or something average. And they're taking a massive risk if they're bluffing.
Yep.
It's also a move where you risk a lot of chips. Some bluffs, you don't need to risk too many chips. When you re-raise someone, you are automatically using a lot of chips.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, people will only make that move when they have something.
I think you're right. I think having played on a few really mad loose tables where people do just re-raise with anything.
Well, that's obviously a different situation.
Yeah. So
but
it's judging then, the table as well.
Even then, they're not targeting you, usually.
Yeah.
The only times you tend to get targeted are when you're playing against very good players who are looking for people to target, or when you have an aggressive player playing in late position when you have the blinds, and then you're being targeted, but that's not because it's you, that's just because you happen to be sitting in the blinds when he's in late position. Yeah,
it's worth watching how people treat other players when they're in the blind. Are they raising, are they re-raising, and do they show their cards down? What do they have? Are they bluffing?
Yeah.
Usually not, as you've said.
Usually not.
Usually not.
I mean, a good tournament player like a Johan Harren or any good tournament player will do it. They will find someone at the table that they know they can steal the blinds from and bully, and they will target them and play that more than play their cards. The other thing is that our viewers know that you've got quite tight standards for your raising hands.
Yeah.
So that makes them less likely to want to target you, because if you've opened for a raise, they know that you're not, unless it's late on, stealing.
Yeah, I do worry that because we do the whole beat the presenter thing, that people are just going to cotton on that usually when I do raise late, it is because I'm stealing. But I don't know. Difficult.
You just worry too much.
I know.
Me, I don't worry enough.
Not nearly enough.
No. Ask my pension.
Carefree. Oh, I'm sorry, pension what?
Exactly, pension who now?
Yeah. I'm thinking poker might have to be my pension, so I think that's a solid plan. What do you think?
Well,
maybe a
by
little
the
bit of
time
insanity, I don't know.
by the time you get to pension age, 65 or whatever, you'll have like 30 odd years of poker experience. You'll be awesome. So yeah, fair enough. It'll always be there. Here's another one of those situations where nobody has very much. Now, you see, well, he's caught another 4, which is nice. That's a classic situation, what we were talking about earlier in the night. It all links. Crespo doesn't have the best hand on the turn. He had a pair of 4s, Hayes had a pair of 5s. He's got a position on him. He makes a bet of 80. Now, Hayes calls a bet of 80. If he'd made a proper bet to take the pot of, say, half the pot, 2/3 of the pot, Hayes would throw away his pair of 5s.
Yeah.
So that's a really good example of what we're talking about of, if you're going to make a bet, don't make some Nancy boy, I'm messing about I've just pressed the bet button. I haven't, you know, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Don't do that, because that's not going to get you
Because that's
anywhere.
wasting your money.
It's wasting your
in effect.
money.
Unless you're actually trying to tease someone into a pot, you're going to be wasting some money. So therefore, make sure every bet that you make has fold equity, if that's indeed what you want people to do, if they don't have a hand.
Yeah.
You sound surprised that that's...
No, I'm not surprised.
Okay.
I was just thinking
Is
through
that
what
right?
you're saying.
So if you want to tease someone into a pot, then yeah, you can make a small bet, like Hoofy
You
was
can,
doing by
but, I mean,
limping on the button.
I have to be honest. The way that I would teach people to play is to make the same bet whether you were trying to encourage someone to play or not.
Right.
Whatever you were trying to do, if you determine the best course of action is to bet, then bet a decent amount. The same way as all your opening raises should be roughly the same amount, because then it makes it impossible for people to read you.
Right. Okay, and like you were saying, if someone is thoughtfully watching your play, like Hoofy in the heads up in the poker player shootout,
it's hard for them to know whether you're
Right.
bluffing or whatever. If you want to encourage someone into a pot, then maybe the best way to do that is to check.
right?
But small bets don't really accomplish much purpose. Well, great flop mucked ace king there, interestingly. To the all-in from Robo Squirrel.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
Don't know. Don't know. It's a difficult one.
I'd have let Ace King go if someone went all in.
Would you?
Yeah.
You've got ace queen here. Little raise, I'd have thought.
I am thinking, is it insane? No, it's not insane.
Well, it's a strong hand, ace queen.
Yeah.
A strong hand in good position. She's gone 4 times.
Yeah. Something I don't usually do.
Still going to do the job. Crespo's having a think about it.
Probably not having seen me make it 4 times the big blind raise.
Well, Crespo's probably thinking he either folds or he goes all in, because what he's thinking is, if he calls with a pair of sevens,
And then
he's unlikely to see
Yeah.
a flop that he likes.
Right.
So if you bet, he's probably going to have to pass.
Yeah.
So I suspect what he was thinking there was, do I go all in and try and make her fold? If she calls, I've got a hand that may win me the pot. Or do I pass? And he decided to pass. If
not
he had
bad.
gone all in, what would you have done?
I think I would have put it down. Yeah. That's a massive sign of strength. And as you've said, if someone re-raises you, it's usually because they have the cards. And that, although it looks nice, is not the best starting hands to be calling an all in.
It's, I mean, these things come down to judgment. Sometimes, the majority of times when you face a re-raise, people have a good hand. Sometimes, of course, they're making a move on you, especially in a tournament. But in general, when you call somebody, you want good reason to do it, either because of your card or because you think they're bluffing.
I wasn't thinking about it there. I was probably just chatting in the chat box.
Yes, I suspect you were.
I chatted a lot less this time.
Did
I
you?
really did. Yes, I did.
Well, Robo Squirrel's got the same hand as Up Your Ante. Yeah. And again, the value of aggression. In any other sport, it would be a draw. In poker, if Up Your Ante doesn't want to play for almost his whole tournament with King Queen, she doesn't, it's not a draw. Robo Squirrel wins. The value of his aggression there. A few hands out here, and you don't have one of them.
Nope, I certainly don't.
Our calls ace queen. We're in a 50-50 scenario, roughly. The tens have a slight edge. Crespo's thinking about it. I can't imagine he's going to play ace 9 with 2 all-ins in front of him. Tens are now a big favourite.
Big favourite.
Ace of queen or 7 would be a split. No, we lose Up Your Ante. Down to 6.
Yeah.
The money is closer, Kara.
I can smell the money. Yeah, I have to admit, I was looking for a longer structure game, but I quite enjoyed this one. I think the shorter structure really worried me because I was losing them consistently.
Yeah.
And then I started playing the longer structure games, and I've got a bit of a better idea, I think, of how to make chips when I don't have the cards, how to make some of these steals and when to make moves. So I can go back, hopefully, now to the shorter structure and put that into practice. At least that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Besides, I doubled up in the first hand, so basically it was a long structure for me.
Yeah. Well, you can't help but get better, because
Even me cannot help but get better.
As we all know, you are a intelligent, perceptive lady.
Ah, yes.
And, you know, you're going to get better anyway. But playing, you're doing something that players don't usually do, which is you're playing and then you're watching back what you've done.
I know, with an expert.
With an expert. And
Someone who can talk me through it.
A
It's
whole
great.
audience of armchair experts as well.
Yeah. I've learned a lot from what people have emailed in and said about my
Absolutely.
play, and I really appreciate it.
If you have any thoughts on Kara's play tonight, it's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
Yeah, feel
Let her
free.
know.
Feel free, absolutely, because it's nice to be able to get better and play with some of the bigger boys, as they say.
Well, Hayes needed to make a stand with something or other, and that is something or other.
But unfortunately, it's not
Harry
something
Squirrel's
other
got a
enough.
full house. That's
Yeah.
overkill, isn't it?
It kind of is.
He's throwing all his acorns at that one. I'm down to 5 players, and now we're getting into prize money territory.
I know. Starting to feel the bubble encroaching.
And you're in a blind play situation.
And I am thinking
Are you thinking of raising here? And
that was a bad move. I probably should have raised him. However, I do see that I have middle pair. Ooh! And I checked, and now I've got 2 pair. And I'm quite excited about that.
yeah, bit of a.
And I'm thinking, yeah, this is going to push
He's
all
moved in
in.
for you, and you've got a call here, obviously.
Yeah.
2 pair against small blind, and limited damage as well, as he only had 300 chips.
Yep.
You bust him.
It was lucky.
You took him down.
I know. And thank you very much for those chips. Ever the polite Canadian. And it was unlucky on his part. And I, hit 2 pair. Not the best of hands, but a winning hand nonetheless. Only better than high card and 1 pair. So there were many things out there that could have beat me, but he didn't have them.
Now here, you could make the money.
Yep, I know, and this is exactly what I'm thinking. I'm very excited.
Oh, no, you are going to, unless he hits a 10.
Yep.
Or running king and queen. Well, only a queen now, because a king would
Ha,
give
ha,
Rose
ha.
score straight. Amore's back to the 2 towers.
Get in.
All right, it's not Amore.
No.
That's me. with
Aramir.
Love on my mind, obviously.
That's amore. That's not amore.
I thought you were the one with love on your mind. It's not that.
Yeah.
You've made the money.
I've made the money.
Hats off to the Scots.
Thank you very much.
Hats in the air, well played.
Thank you. I have been trying to play better, so it's nice to see when it actually does bear out in terms of money.
It's borne fruit. So now you're 3-handed,
Yep.
which is
So, this
always
is
can be tricky.
At this point, you scribbled a note to me, which was, be more aggressive at this point, at which point I scribbled one back going, what does that mean? Because I do have difficulty knowing when to, well, what it looks like. What does the more aggressiveness look like
Well,
here?
you're looking for opportunities. I mean, clearly, if you're here, the button's raised all in,
Yeah.
you've got a bad hand, clearly,
Yeah,
that's not an opportunity.
okay.
The blinds go up quickly, so I don't really want you to sit still. This is a marginal one, in that King 5 is not a great hand if you're called, but it's reasonably likely that if you go all in, the other 2 will fold. So that was a possibility for you to go all in. It requires bravery.
Right.
You've got to say to yourself, you know, I've got 3rd place locked up.
Yeah,
One of the players that could call me has got less chips than me, so he can't bust me.
right.
So I should be brave and try and make some chips here. Because you can't sit still, because the blind's
No.
going to go up. Now the situation has changed. Now you've got a short stack. So, for example, you don't want to make a move there because he has only got 600 chips left.
Yeah.
He's got a hand like 10-9. He's going to call with it.
Right.
Again, now you probably don't want to make a move because of the short stack. You want to fold and you want to hope that he gets involved. Because the guy in third place, Crespo's got to make a move at some point.
Right.
And what you're hoping
is he makes a move against Robo-Squirrel,
and Robo-Squirrel
busts
knocks him out, so you don't have to jeopardise your chips.
Right.
Now that may not happen, but that's what you're hoping. Now here again, it's a marginal one.
I just didn't know what to do with this, I have to be honest.
I think you should move all in because...
Really?
Yeah, because...
See, I thought I had actually pushed them all in. I just typed the wrong number in the box.
Oh, really?
Because I am that lame, and I am sorry. My hand-eye coordination is rubbish. But I did actually think I pushed them all in there.
Well, you
and then I did, obviously, and yeah.
Well, his fold there is pointless.
Yeah.
He should have called because he could hit running cards or something like that, whereas now, even if he wins this hand, he's still got no equity. Now you have got two options here. You can either raise or you can call. Or you could fold and let them both fight it out, but you've got an above average hand.
Yeah.
Call, okay, that's what I've done. Now you should normally you check this down, right? Like we talked about before, because it secures second place. The fact that he's bet means that he's got a very strong hand.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't play, and you don't. And he has got a strong hand. And your heads up.
Hey, I do love heads up play. I really do.
Well played, Cara.
Thank you.
You rocked.
Thank you. You know what? Going into heads up as the shorter stack, though, I was conscious that anytime I pushed all in, he could actually cover my stack. So, not to do it with anything that was too rubbish. But
yeah,
again,
that's not really the right. That's not really the right attitude.
Okay.
Like for example, here you should probably move all in. You have to understand that the blinds are the determining factor right now.
Right.
And you've got to take a risk to try and pick up the blinds, because if you sit still like you did, you're going to get to this point very quickly where you're very short stack now.
Ouch. Yeah.
And now you've got a horrible decision. You've got 7-4, which is about the worst hand you can have. And if you pass, you've only got 2 big blinds left.
Yeah. I was very unaggressive, and I really needed to.
You're still, it's not, I'm not going to be too hard on you about it. The reason that you're not aggressive yet is that you haven't got used to playing without the cards sometimes.
Yeah.
You're still focused on the cards. And that's, you know, understandable. It's a transition. Although you do the right thing, Queen 6 is, you know, you've got a Queen, which is a high card. You know you're probably going to be called. Unluckily for you, he's also got a 6. Had to hit your Queen and didn't. I think the opportunity you missed was a couple of hands before when you had the button. Yeah. And you could have gone. You should have gone in probably regardless of your cards there when you had about 2,500 chips. Yeah. But you passed a couple of hands.
Oh well, I did. I made the money and I came second, and I learned a valuable lesson in heads-up play. So there we go. And that was Beat the Presenter.
And that's the analysis complete, Cara.
That's the analysis complete. Thanks very much.
Glasses can be safely removed and stowed in the overhead bins.
And thank goodness for that, because they do make my eyes hurt, I must say. Thanks everyone for playing with me on that table. I do appreciate it. It's always nice that when you save me a seat, so many thanks. And yeah, emails about that would be lovely.
That was an interesting one. I mean, A, you cashed, which is always nice.
It's great. It's fun.
B, you had the experience of being a big stack early on.
Yeah. That was interesting. That's new for me, because I don't think I've ever been the big stack early on.
It's a push me, pull you situation. Yeah. Which is, half of you thinks, I've got lots of chips, I can just sit tight and let other people bust out. And the other half of you thinks, this is an opportunity. All that.
Yeah. I was more of the woohoo
kind of, yeah. Sure. Well, I hope it was useful for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if you have any questions about the play there or anything poker related, indeed, let us know here. And we do have a few emails to get through already. So
let's do that.
Let's dive in. This one's from one of our regulars. This is from Dead Spiders, Hugh. It says, good evening, guys. Good evening, Hugh. I'd like to grill you for information about controlling the size of a pot. We have quite a extensive email here for you, Nick.
Oh.
So you're going to need to listen.
Yeah, sure.
This seems like an important skill at the higher end of poker learning, and I have several questions. Ooh, several. How effectively can we hope to control the pot size? Is this one of the advantages of table presence and momentum, that people look to us to bet, enabling us to set the price to play? Are blocking bets effective tools in controlling pot size in addition to stopping bluffs? Or is pot size generally influenced using the size of your legitimate bets? We often hear about good players trying to keep the size of a pot down to reduce variance. The classic examples is James talking about avoiding putting his tournament life on the line by minimizing his number of all-ins. In these situations, we're declining to push an edge as hard as we might, giving up value to reduce variance. How good do you have to be for such a sacrifice to be profitable? In the context of general strategy, Harrington, I think, writes that ironically, the loose aggressive player is generally looking to take down lots of small pots, while the tight player needs to play his big hands hard. However, when a loose player catches a monster, he's looking to exploit his image to win a big pot. How does he try to maximize pot size in the situation without giving his hand away? Lots of questions there about controlling pot size, how to do it, and when we should do it.
Do you want to have a go at that, or?
No, that, all you.
There's a lot there, Hugh. Dead Spider. Oh, hello, camera 3. How are you? Join me. There's a lot there, Hugh. Controlling the pot, I mean, it sounds like you basically can understand controlling the pot size. For those of you who haven't heard too much about it, basically, the best analogy I can think of is boxing, where the better, if two people are fighting in a boxing ring, the better boxer, the better technical boxer, will try and minimise the amount of all-in confrontations, if you like, the amount of big conflicts, because he can score points by staying on the outside, jabbing, and he can win on points, and he can control the action. He's not taking big risks. The worst boxer will try and throw big haymakers, because that's his best chance of success. He's not going to win a drawn-out, protracted technical battle, but if he connects on his big punches, he might hit. Now, the same thing applies in poker. The better poker player will, as Hugh says, want to minimise the amount of big confrontations he has, because that's his best chance of beating that's the weak poker player's best chance of beating the expert poker player, is to win in a big confrontation. If you should ever get into a big tournament by buying your way in or qualify something like that, then you find yourself Hosanna in the heads up with, you know, Johnny Chan or Phil Helms across the table from you. Move all in constantly. Just keep moving all in. Never stop. Because that is your best chance. Mathematically, that is your best chance of success against a player that is significantly better than you, because you're looking for that big confrontation. So that's the analogy. So when Hugh talks about controlling the pot size, it's something that the pros do, which is that they don't get into big pots where they only have a small edge. They will look to get into big pots where they have a big edge. And it's as simple as that, really. So I was trying to think of an example, and unfortunately, off the top of my head, I can't pull out a useful one for you. But the concept would be, if they think they're ahead, but they're not confident that they're significantly ahead, they may call, or they may, again, as Hugh said, they may put out a small defensive bet. We've spent all night saying that small bets are no good. This is quite a high-level question for a beginner night, but you might put out a small defensive bet to stop the amateur player putting in a big bet and putting you to a very difficult decision when you're in a marginal situation. So yeah, that might be one of the techniques of doing it. James does talk about it a lot. The flip side is that you don't want to get to the point where you're never prepared to play a big pot. Phil Hellmuth, for example, is using this in tournaments at the moment where he's just trying to win lots of small pots. He's getting a name for it, and he avoids big confrontations. That's fine, but if you're avoiding all big confrontations, you may avoid some situations where you've got a decent edge. So I believe you've still got to be prepared to play big pots sometimes. You can't go through all of poker playing small pots. Otherwise, people will just start re-raising you, which I believe is also happening for Phil Hellmuth. People are coming over the top of him more. So it's an interesting topic. It's a very high-level topic for a beginner night. So apologies if you are a beginner and you're tuning in. But for regular viewers, I hope that helps a little bit. It is interesting. It's not written about extensively, but it's something that pros are aware of, in that they will try and keep, if they're not sure they've got a big edge, they'll try not to play a big pot. That's basically it. But I think he had quite a good understanding of it anyway, to be honest.
I think so as well. But it is nice to have a bit of camera on you.
Sorry, just waiting for it to...
That's a lovely smile you've got there. The twinkle in your eye.
Thanks.
It's always nice to have a bit of high-level discussion as well on an amateur night, because it makes you kind of raise your game if you're listening to things that are...
If you're a new player, it's a taste of how deep the wormhole goes. It's the Matrix, it's not dirty.
Okay. Well, no, worms and... anyways.
Worms can be your friends, Cara.
Yes, I'm certain that they can. They make the ground all lovely and fertile and whatnot, so there we go. Now, if anyone out there has any questions about anything, any level at all, if it's a poker-related question, we'd love to hear from you. We've got 1 hour left, so do get them in thick and fast so that we can get through them by the end of the show. You can text us, text the word poker and your question to 84222, or you can send us a lovely email on this Friday night, Saturday morning, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. But for your poker delectation now, we have a little bit of cash game.
Do we?
I believe. So, just to round out the holy trinity of poker, we've had the sit and go, we had the shootout, and now we've got the cash game.
Shootout final still to come.
Yes, absolutely. Wee-hoo. Wee-hoo.
Wee-hoo.
Wee-hoo.
Is that bigger than woohoo?
It is a bit.
Is it?
It's kind of like a yee-haw crossed with a, yeah.
Crossed with some wee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little bit of cash for you, boys and girls. For those of you, and I don't think it's provoked a response, but we did have a discussion about cash. And the various differences in your game between cash and tournaments. I think the interesting thing about cash is there's a lot of potential for you to develop your own style and your own moves in a cash game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas tournaments, the blinds will dictate what you should and shouldn't be doing. In cash, there are many ways to be successful as a cash player, in fact.
Okay.
The way that I will tell you and tell you guys, and the way that Poker Night Live experts will tell you, is basically the easiest way to make profit, which is to play tightly.
Right.
But there are plenty of loose players that make money in cash games at the high levels.
Okay.
It's also the case that even if you are a tight player, you need to occasionally make a move. Now that's for two reasons. One is that you'll occasionally be in a situation where it's profitable to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is that if you play with the same players regularly, you should occasionally make a move so that they can't completely trust that you're playing in a straightforward fashion.
Right. Yeah. Don't be predictable.
Yeah, it's fine to be predictable if you're playing on an internet site where there's a lot of players and there's a high turnover and no one really knows, you're not playing the same people. Then being predictable will get you the money because they don't know you're being predictable, if you follow.
Yeah.
But if you're playing with the same players, whether it's a home game or a live game, or whether it's an internet site where there's only a few players playing that game at that limit, whatever it is, then you need to mix it up a little bit. But also, you need to follow the holy quest for what's profitable. We're here to make money. Sure, we can have a laugh. Yeah, we can have a good time. But we are here to make cash, and there are situations where making a bluff or making a move is profitable.
Mm-hmm. Is Lurch going to buy? Yeah, Lurch thinks that I'm Not a Minger has a flush.
There was one.
Ah.
I'm Not a Minger made a bet with an out but a pair. Basically a bluff because he couldn't beat anything significant with 4 diamonds there. And it went in the hand.
It did indeed. Neither one of them had the flush, so it came down to aggression.
It did. I'm not quite sure. He might have been betting with the best hand there. And thinking he was bluffing. Did the other guy have a better hand?
Yeah, he had a pair of kings.
Ah, okay. So there we are. On cue, an example of a bluff in a cash game.
Very nice when that happens. I like it, almost as if by the magic of television. And there we go. A middle pair takes that down. And not a lot around the table, so it's always interesting to see what the blinds are going to do. A limp in there by Quinn. And there you go, a flop of Ace, King, 2 comes down. It's not really making a huge difference for anyone except for Quinn, who now has a straight draw.
Yeah, not a very good straight draw. Certainly not one you'd want to write home and tell your mum about.
No, only one possible card.
Yeah.
Get him out of that. He does have a pair of 4s, however, now. And let's see, is Dan's going to put this down or is he going to bet into it? He's going to bet into it. Tiny bet, just $1 there.
Again, same thing as we saw in the tournament.
No fold equity.
Does not just doesn't accomplish anything.
Yeah. So, boys and girls at home, have a think about fold equity over the break. That would be my task for you this evening.
On Friday night, 1 o'clock in the morning. Do your homework.
Have a thought about the good old fold equity and how it could work for you.
Yes.
Then send us in an email and tell us what you think about that. That would be your homework there.
Or think about the most fun thing you've ever done with poker and send an email about that. That'd be even better.
You could do that as well. Well, there's a bit of poker news coming up for your entertainment next, but we'll be back after it, so don't go away. We'll be back.
See you in a bit.
Hello and welcome back for the final hour of Poker Night Live. I love it when you pose for the coming back. We are here.
For you, if I'm honest.
Thanks very much.
It just
always
annoys,
makes me
it just
giggle.
annoys them.
It always makes me giggle. But we are here for one more hour.
1 more hour.
1 more hour of poker. We've got the final of the poker shootout, right?
Very exciting. Somebody
Very exciting.
playing to join us here in the Poker Bowl studio.
That is exciting.
To play live for their share of $8,000.
That is really very cool. And it's
very
so
cool.
much fun having people come into the studio, and it's a great day away. So we will be watching to see who's going to do that. We're also, if we have time, we've got a little bit more cash game to show, and we still have some sit and goes as well. You guys are out there playing on the tables, and we'd love to show you some of that. Also, we've got some emails.
Of course we have.
We've kind of given you a broad remit tonight, haven't we, of different things to talk about. Heads-up play, cash games, women in poker, the whole kind of broad gamut. But it is a Friday night, and the World Cup is on, and we just thought, try to appeal to everyone a little bit.
I'm very excited about this email.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll start
Somebody's
with this.
picked up the gauntlet that I thought would never be picked up.
Ah, the Golden Gauntlet. Let's take a look. This one is from Crespo25, who in fact we did see, and we have seen already, and was on the Beat the Presenter with me. Hi, Crespo. Hi, guys. Well played in the Beat the Presenter, Kara. Oh, well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. I can't see any problem with poker and barbecues. Just get on with the game. What are wives and girlfriends for? Oh, Crespo. I'm so disappointed.
What I think's brilliant about that is he's done the barbecue thing, but then he's combined the earlier theme of women and poker.
And stereotypes.
Yeah, and stereotypes.
Misogyny and, well, maybe it's a bit harsh, misogyny. It's not quite that. Yeah, maybe a little.
It's getting there, isn't it?
It kind of is. Crespo, I was thinking, oh, gee, thanks. Nice to play with you as well. But really, wives and girlfriends, I don't know about that.
I think it's quite funny.
Really?
He's just being funny.
Yeah?
He doesn't mean it.
Get your wives and girlfriends playing. Taking some money off of you guys. I bet that's what would in fact happen. Just my opinion.
She's
there.
come back at you there.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. Where did you come in the Beat the Presenter?
It's got... Oh.
Sorry?
Oh. That's taking him down to the mat.
Is that... Oh, I say.
You
down
mess
for
with
the
the
count.
big girl, you get the...
So the big girl.
Status-wise.
Yeah, there you go.
Status-wise.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
much smaller in real life than you are on the telly.
Apparently I am, yeah. Apparently I'm tiny in real life.
Yes.
Okay, another email here. Another quick one from XESPX. XSX. My best play online is to go on a table with some good players and make a move with lots of rubbish and then show my hands. And then leave. Greed takes over and I get paid off later because the good players think I'm a fish and they come and play with me. I love it, and much love too to Poker Night Live. Okay, so you're playing a little bit mad with a bit of rubbish and you're using that as an investment to hope that they see you then as a fish.
This is the hustle.
That's
gone
the
on
hustle.
since time immemorial.
The hustle.
Poker players would do it and still do it. And people do it in pool halls, and they do it. You start out playing like you're bad, and then when you've got people's attention, you hustle when it really counts for the big money.
Yep.
And my poker mentor in Vegas used to do it. Doyle Brunson talks about it in Super System about loosening up a game, and sometimes if the game's too tight and people are playing too solid, making a bluff and showing them, using a bit of speech play, whatever, to get people to gamble.
Okay.
I would say it's less effective online simply because the lineups that you're playing against change much more frequently.
Yeah, so you're not going to be able to build up a reputation very easily or quickly.
It's harder.
So you may lose more money.
Doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's harder to do. Also, I would say it's a skill to be able to do it well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting. It is not a new idea.
No, it's not something that you've just thought up, although if it's working for you, then great.
Sure.
There you go. Anyone out there looking at XESPX, have a think. He might just be bluffing you, or maybe he's not quite a fish as he seems. Always important to make sure that you adjust your play to the people sat at your table.
Sure.
But bear in mind that they're also adjusting their play to you. It's very complicated, this poker thing, isn't it?
It can be very complicated.
Very, very complicated.
Well, the thing that saves you is what I said before, which is that most people become predictable.
Yeah.
After a while.
Right.
And
if you're watching for it, you can see it.
Yeah,
hopefully.
And I've said it on this show before, when the subjects come about playing against loose players or playing against tight players, personally I don't mind. I don't mind playing against a loose player, I don't mind playing against a tight player, I don't mind playing against an aggressive player, whatever. As long as they're consistent. It's the players that are not consistent that really cause you trouble.
Okay.
Because then it becomes very, very difficult to know what they're doing. So, yeah, you want to try and be unpredictable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well done, you. That makes sense. It does, though.
Another success story.
I do love it when you make sense and it's concise.
Happens twice a show, so...
that's why I mark it every time it happens.
Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
She used to be a teacher, you can tell, can't you?
Oh, it's all about the positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
There we go. See that patronising tone as well?
Yeah.
Teacher.
I love it. I don't care.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, we have one more email here from Ben. And then I'm going to ask you out there to let us know what your thoughts are on some of these subjects. Now, this one says, "Hiya, guys. Great. And enjoying the show as always." Well, it's good to hear. "I wanted your opinion on playing good and better hands from the blinds, both, but especially the small blind. Recently, I've quite often been getting my best better hands when I'm in the blinds, and thus in early post-flop. Have you any advice on playing in this situation? Should I play them differently to normal, for example, quite strongly as I'd play them normally? I would love to hear Nick's opinion on this, as it is happening to me quite a lot at the moment, and I am sometimes unsure of how to play hands, especially if playing to a raise. Keep up the good work." Okay, so there you go. So you're in the big and the small blind, particularly the small blind. You get a good hand. Someone raises before you. How should you be playing this?
Well, my opinion is that people don't take into account enough how... Look at you on the telly saying nothing. It's clever, isn't it? Your lips aren't even moving when you're talking.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
There we go.
My opinion is that people don't understand just how weak you are when you're in the blinds. Right?
It's a bit odd. Okay.
You have to appreciate this, Ben and everyone else. You have to understand how important position is.
Yeah.
And in order to understand how important position is, you have to embrace the idea. I would say the cards are the most important thing, I guess. Not in all situations, but in most. But probably number 2 is position in Texas Hold'em. And the better a player you are, the more you understand that piece of information. And that's my little trick to get you to embrace that piece of information, because you think you'll be a good player. And do you know what? You will. It's just the case that if you act first, you are at a massive disadvantage. Massive. If there's 2 of you in the pot and you're acting first, you're at a huge disadvantage. The reason you're having a problem with this, Ben, playing out the blinds, is as simple as that. The positional disadvantage is much, much greater than you think. It's a huge problem. And if you play a hand out of the blinds and somebody raises you, it's so hard to know where you are unless you've got a very strong hand. So what's the remedy? The remedy is to play very rarely out of the blinds and defend your blinds very rarely. That's the remedy. The problem is that what happens to people is, and Barry Greenstein in his very interesting and beautiful book, actually, it's the nicest book of about poker that I've read. It's called Ace on the River by Barry Greenstein, the big cash player. And he says that this is something that he sees players do a lot of. And what will happen is you're in the small blind, you've got a hand like 5-8 suited, right? A terrible hand. 6 players limp in, it gets round to you, and suddenly you're looking at the pot, and you've got the big blind as well, so you've got 7 limpers, and you're half a bet in the small blind. It only costs you half a bet to enter the pot, and you're getting, you know, whatever that is, 14 to 1 on your money. 15 to 1, actually. And that's great odds. Yeah, it's great odds. The problem is that you're playing a weak hand out of position. So let's say you've got your 5-8 suited and the flop comes 8 high, so you flop top pair, right? But you've got a bad kicker. This is just one example to show you guys. You bet out because you've got top pair. For argument's sake, you could check raise. Let's say you bet out. A couple of people fold and then somebody else raises. You're now in a horrible situation. It's such a difficult situation. You could have the best hand. You could not have the best hand. They could have an 8 with a better kicker. They could have any number of different hands. But you don't know because you're out of position with a weak hand. So these are the situations people get themselves into. My advice to you would be to forget the fact that you've put the blind in, or the big blind or the small blind, on most occasions. Doesn't apply to all occasions. Nothing that we say applies to everything in poker. But in terms of your mindset playing out the blinds, you have to pay the blinds anyway to play in the poker game, so don't worry about giving them up. Don't defend them unless you've got a very strong hand or unless you're very sure that a re-raise will make the other person put them down. And only play out of them rarely with either a strong hand or a situation where you're in a pot with a weaker player. For the most part, just don't play out the blinds. Because actually I guarantee you that most people, if they do analysis of where they're playing from, they'll be losing money out the blind positions.
Yeah,
And
I've heard that actually.
they'll actually be better off if they never play.
Yeah. Even if you have a really strong hand, it's got to be incredibly strong to play out of one of the blinds.
Well, even if, I'm not saying don't play ace-king out the blinds, but just as an example, if you have ace-king and you're out of position and you play out the blinds and you miss the flop, it's very, very difficult to play then.
Where are you?
If you're in late position, you miss the flop with ace-king and somebody checks to you, most of the time you can go ahead and bet because most of the time he's going to throw away his hand. You just have to understand how important position is in this game and what a disadvantage you are in out of the blinds.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've talked about it for quite a long time, got reasonably passionate about it, simply because I know that most players that sit down at a poker table lose a lot of the money they lose in the blind positions.
Yeah, so, you know, even limping in when you're on the small blind just to make it up to
Well,
the big blind.
the problem is what happens after that.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say,
sorry.
absolutely. So you think, well, it's just a tiny bit, I've already put in half the bet, I might as well. Yeah, but maybe you're just leaking money from this position. As you say, a lot of people do, so it's definitely worth bearing in mind.
A good email, it's a very good topic.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks very much for that. Now we've got, for you, the final of the Poker Player Shootout, which is very exciting. And I want to see this for one, and figure out who's going to actually be coming into the studio here with us to play in the final.
They may meet such people as you and I, but don't let that put you off. You can still win some money. Still every reason to play.
Even if you have to maybe meet us, it's not so bad. And there you go. We can see the familiar red background of our Poker Player Shootout. And we have a few details for you here. Now, all of 8 of these players are in the money, and because they've all won a table in order to get here to this final.
Yes.
This is a free roll, which means that any money that they have made is straight profit. They're not actually having to cover their expenses at all.
They've actually won 2 tables. So these players have done well. They've won through 2 rounds, so they come first in 2 sit-and-goes, which is not easy to do.
No, not at all. So we should see a fairly good standard here. We've lost a couple of players. So this, should be very interesting. The blinds are at 75 and 150.
And we've got Hoofy and Alan on the right-hand side of the screen, both of whom we saw win their respective semi-finals.
Has your heart stopped beating quite so fast, Hoofy? That was a heck of a heads up that you had there in your final, in your last table, sorry. Now, the total prize pool here is $1,000, and as I said, this is a free roll, which means this is all profit for whoever comes first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. So the 2 players we've already lost went home with $50 and $60 respectively, and top prize is $300.
Yeah. Top prize is $300 tonight.
Well, tonight, and the chance to come in and take your share of $8,000.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. So it's not winner takes all because everybody here has made a bit of money, as Kara said. But it's kind of winner takes all because there's such a premium for coming first.
Oh yeah.
So again, we will maybe see when it gets down to short-handed 2, 3, 4 players, and the players can sniff that big prize, it may affect their play, who knows? Yeah,
I would think so. And just to say a bit of a shout out to the players who just went out. Now, 7th was Roger Melly, and took home $60, and 8th was AJ53, taking home $50. And well done to both of you for winning 2 tables just to get there, and for taking home a bit of prize money as well.
Absolutely. Anyone that gets onto this table has done well. It's not easy to win 2 tournaments in a row.
No, anyone who plays online should know that, really. I mean, you can win a couple in a row, and that's great, but then, it's very difficult to find that winning streak against other players who are having a winning streak as well. That's the other thing.
Too right.
So there we go. They've each started with 1,500 chips at this table. Now remember, this is not a multi-table tournament, so they're not bringing with them the chips that they won at the last table. It's not that same sort of structure. It's a shootout. So they've all started with a brand new 1,500 chips. And as you can see, some of them have gotten themselves well chipped up. For example, Top Cat and Hoofy.
Yes. Yeah, as you said before, they do have a bit of time in this tournament. Mm-hmm. In that, I think the blinds go up every 12 minutes, and you can see FC trying to get this pot right here.
Mm-hmm. So the blinds aren't that big, but in relation to their stacks, I mean, if they did start with 1,500 chips, the big blind's now 150, so that's quite quick.
Yeah, but it didn't start here.
That's true, but yeah. So at this point, though, where they're not going to be able to leisurely sort of sit back, they're going to be wanting to steal some blinds, they're going to be wanting to make some chips. No?
No.
You disagree. I can tell.
I disagree.
You do.
You're so perceptive.
I am, really, aren't I?
I wouldn't totally disagree, because you're always trying to do that to a certain extent, but I don't think there's any reason to be in a hurry.
Well, not a panic position,
now.
certainly, no. But be mindful if you're less than 10 times a big blind.
Yeah, definitely. Was that your funny bone?
That was my funny bone.
You're right.
Ouch.
Can we have the paramedics, please? Miss Scott's funny bone is...
I think I'm injured. I got a broken wing.
Poor love.
Oh, poor me.
In the walls. I would help you if I cared.
You're far too busy watching the poker shootout.
Yeah, you know me too well now, and you're going to have to change my patter.
I know. It's getting quite sad. We are really like an old married couple when I can actually finish your sentences.
It's not good, is it?
No.
That's not a good sign. Well, Alan here is going to try and steal the blinds. For those of you joining us late, the player on the button is called
Henceforth?
Alan.
To be known as?
Known as Alan because we can't pronounce his name.
Yeah. Unless you want to send us an email and tell us how to pronounce it phonetically, and even then, if it's still too difficult, it's just not going to happen, really. There we go. Not so much on the board there. Once again, it becomes a battle of the blinds. ECFC not willing to actually try to make a steal there, letting it go for gold bars, who takes down the blinds. It's worth remembering that not every hand is there going to be a good hand out there.
Well,
we're down to 6 players, so...
Yeah, and it's playing quite tight.
It's not strictly speaking short-handed, but...
No, but you're right. It is shorter than a full table, and also.
Hoofy's trying to limp in and see what he can do. He doesn't realize that he's up against aces.
No.
So unfortunate when you actually get aces and you're really wishing someone else out there besides someone with 4-2 would play against you, but
yeah,
it's not going to happen. You need to maximize the amount of chips you win when you have those big hands. Because they only come around every once in a while.
You do, but...
Gosh, are you disagreeing with me again?
Yeah, I just don't like you anymore.
No! All I said was you need to make more chips with good hands. How are you possibly going to disagree with me?
I can disagree with you at will. No, of course, there's no disagreeing with that statement, but you were talking about aces, and one of the things I would say to people is that aces is the best starting hand in poker, but it's only the best starting hand.
Yeah.
And you've only got one pair, and I want people to get too hung up. Well, can gold bars call this? He can, so we're going to have a split pot here. I don't want people to get too caught up in. I don't want people. What would, hello?
You want to try that again? See, things are coming out of your mouth, but they're not making sense.
I don't want people to worry
Right.
if they've got aces and they make a raise and they take the blinds.
Okay.
Okay.
You can't always maximise with aces.
Well, you have maximised there, is
No,
what
you
I would say.
haven't.
Excuse me. I will be the judge of that.
Oh, will you? I'm
Yes.
afraid I have to disagree with you
Well,
there.
I don't think you'll find that's your role, Kara. Support the expert.
Okay.
No, to maximise your money, right, means to make the most money you can make on that hand.
Yes.
Right? I'm not being patronising.
Okay.
I'm making a serious point.
No, I agree.
Make the most money you can make on that hand. If nobody else has a good hand, then the most money that you might be able to make is to take the blinds.
Absolutely.
Right?
I completely
So
agree.
all I'm saying to you is it's possible that just taking the blinds is maximising your profit.
Okay.
Because
At
the
that point,
potential
yes.
alternative is that somebody turns a hunk of junk into a better hand than aces because they get lucky.
You get outdrawn.
You get outdrawn. So it depends on the situation. As ever in poker, depends where you are, players, your stack size. But sometimes you should be absolutely fine with taking the blinds when you've got aces.
Yeah, if
it's
that's
only
the
one
best you can
pair.
do with it, then that's the best you can do
That's
with
the best
it.
you can do with it.
However, wouldn't you rather pull into a pot someone with, say, King 4 than someone with King King?
Well, it's a difficult area. I would, but at the same time, when you let players see a flop, you are increasing the chances that you'll lose the hand.
Right.
Okay? Because they can improve their hand.
Of course. But if you're not going to go in with aces to try to see a flop, then what would you see a flop with?
I'm not saying I wouldn't see a
Okay.
flop with aces.
Sorry.
Karen. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I prefer usually, almost always, to raise with big hands. I don't like to slow play big hands. Nines come over the top of Hoofy.
Uh-oh.
Dream situation for him.
There you go. All in.
Yeah, ECFC can't get away from this, and
No.
you'll need a 9.
Oh, trip aces for Hoofy. And he has crippled ECFC.
Well, that's one of those situations. I'm glad that happened because it got us out of what was quite a confused and random chat.
Apologies.
No, there you go. I think it's apologise for. I wasn't being clear at all. I apologise. That's one of those situations where he's re-raised with 9s. Now, you'd have to ask him why.
Right. Yeah, I'd be curious to know why.
I presume he's trying to win the hand right there. Because 9s, you don't really want to see a flop with 9s because
Yeah.
they'll be, especially out of position, because they'll be overcast. Unfortunately, FC has left us there. That hand crippled him with the aces.
And Hoofy may have limped in there. I don't know if the blinds have only just gone up, but he made a bet of 300. So he may have actually just made, not even 2 times a blind. I don't know if the blinds just went up
Hoofy
there,
doubled
so-
the blind is what happened.
Okay.
And then ECFC came over the top,
Right.
taking it from 300 to 1,000. And then Hoofy moved all in. And ECFC called. Now, ECFC called very quickly. And there's 2 ways of looking at it. One way of looking at it is you can say ECFC was getting 3-1 from the pot, so he had to call. And that is an argument that most people would use. And often that would be right. The counter argument would be, if you know that Hoofy wouldn't make that move without an overpair,
Yeah.
and I think you could argue that he wouldn't, given that it's a winner-takes-all table, kind of,
Yeah.
that we know Hoofy's a good player, and Hoofy knows that ECFC probably won't fold if you follow all of this. I think you could make the argument that Hoofy wouldn't do that without a hand better than 9s. He
Right.
wouldn't do that without 10s, jacks, queens or kings or aces. If so, ECFC should have folded.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. I suppose you do have to think not just again about the cards and your position, but the place in the tournament and what the tournament means and
Yeah.
the bubble and all of that kind of information.
We've lost Alan.
Oh.
Gone but not forgotten.
Bye, Alan. And we are down now to our final 4. And it is getting quite tense here. Quite quick play.
It is going quick. It doesn't need to go this quick because, you know, they have got enough chips to make it a slower deal, but no limit hold'em care is a fast game.
It is. It's a fast-paced game for people with nerves of steel and such like.
That's right, yes.
And Alan takes home with him $80. And the feeling that he has won 2 tables tonight. And just not quite managed it on the 3rd. Bittersweet.
Yeah.
King 10 there for gold bars, who decides to go 2 times the big blind. And that's enough to make everyone else put it down, and so he takes down the blind, which at this point, 300 altogether, is not inconsiderable. It's about 10 times for 3 of them, 10 times their stack, and it's quite a bit more for Top Cat.
Well, I know I say this a lot in no-limit tournament situations, but it really is anyone's tournament. Top Cat's the short stack, but he's still got enough chips that if he went all in, he would scare the others, and that's the key.
Have that fold equity in your stack. And winner there, gold bars. And once again, we've got 4 sets of cards here, and not really anything in the bunch.
And also, we've got some reasonably tight players. Oh, no, tell a lie.
Someone's making a steal.
Taxmania's been the most adventurous. He's done things like make raises with ace-6 and that kind of thing. So he's looked like the loosest player on here. Which might actually do very well for him now with short-handed, because all these players know that first has such a premium.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever finishes first will meet me.
That's amazing.
Now
what a prize.
That is going to affect how people play.
Oh, absolutely.
Which way, we don't know.
It would make me nervous, I'll tell you.
so it should.
Hoofy?
To be fair,
are you just dying to meet Nick?
To be fair, I think the share of $8,000 might be a slightly bigger incentive.
It may sway them a little farther. Ooh, this could be interesting. Jacks against kings.
Well, all the money's going in here, I'd have thought.
Oh, yes, and it is. And his gold bar's going to call this.
Well, he's only 300 more. Yeah, he's going to have to. He's not going to like it. He needs a jack. Only a jack.
No.
And it's even more competitive now.
Yeah, I'll say. They've, yeah. Ooh, and 10s for Top Cat. With 8s for Hoofy. Hoofy may not believe that Top Cat's got a good pair, two hands in a row.
Hoofy doesn't want a small flop here. He thinks he does, but actually that would be a nightmare for him, and that's going to save him money.
9, 10, Jack, Queen. Oh boy. What?
Oh boy. Anything could happen.
Well, it's exciting.
Hoofy takes a little pop at it. He thinks if... and look at that. The value of aggression. Now that is a move that I want you to make often, Kara Scott.
Really?
Why are you looking at me like that?
Okay. No, I'm just curious. Could you explain?
Difficult decision for Top Cat. I would recommend that move to everyone, which is you're in last position, you're on the flop, in a tournament situation. Now, very important caveat, very important. This is in a time in the tournament where you've got a reasonable number of chips in relation to the blinds.
Right.
So I don't want you risking a big percentage of your stack doing this. But it should be reasonably routine that if you've got 1 or 2 opponents, not more, and either the individual or both of them check to you on the flop.
Yeah.
Personally, the style I like to play, I like to bet at that. Because...
At least half of the pot.
At least half of the pot. Okay. And I think it's a profitable play, because most of the time their checks mean they don't have anything.
Yeah. So enough times it's going to pay off.
Enough times it's going to
pay for itself.
I think. I know that not every poker player likes it, not every poker player plays that way, but I want to try and maximise the number of small pots that I win. And it's got nothing to do with the cards. You're playing your position and the fact that your opponents have shown weakness.
Yeah.
May not work for you, may not be the one you want to play, but it's a move that you can add to your arsenal. Well, we've got a real tournament, haven't we? The big blind's 200, and nobody's got less than 10 times it. In fact, they've all got a little bit more than that. And Taxmania is the chip leader, but they're all, apart from him, reasonably evenly matched.
Mm-hmm. We indeed have a race here.
Who's your money on, Cara?
I think it's actually going to be on Hoofy. That's a bit of an emotional thing now for me because, you know, he's one of our regulars.
Loyalty.
And yeah, go on, Hoofy.
Just a little semantical point. Can you be top cat too?
You know what?
Is
Interesting. Second top cat.
Yeah.
Second to top.
When the top cat's not there, I am the top cat. So
Like he's vice president top cat.
yeah,
Vice top cat.
vice top cat. He arrests prostitutes who are cats. Is that it?
No.
No.
No, it doesn't work really.
Sometimes things are confusing, aren't they? In life?
Especially at 1:30 in the morning on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, Taxmania hits the king, which could get him in trouble because Gold Bars has got the trip fives here, and it is going to lose him some chips. Taxmania tries a kind of sort of... Oh, and he's called. Well, Taxmania's been the most aggressive player at the table, and that's how he's got ahead, and now he's showing the danger of being aggressive, which is you've got to be able to get away from hands as well. And we see this so often, and Gold Bars is trying to milk him for more here. Is he going to get an extra 600 out of him? He does. Well,
Yeah.
I think Taxmania trapped himself there. He made the move with the pair of kings. The move wasn't successful, and at that point, he should have said, I've tried my move, I've tried my bluff, it hasn't worked, I'm done with this hand.
Yeah.
But he tried to find a way to win it, and it didn't happen. And that's why, boys and girls, playing aggressively, while it can be a very advantageous style to play, because nobody likes to play against an aggressive player, and you'll take down pots without cards, it is also a harder style to play, because you'll get into situations where you have marginal decisions to make, and that's where you need to be an expert player. So you see these guys on TV, like some of the bigger names in poker, like Phil Ivey and Daniel Negreanu, and they're playing any two cards, and they're playing very aggressively. You must understand that they have excellent judgment, and they know when they can push a hand and when they need to stop. And developing that judgment is very, very difficult. And that's why we don't recommend you play a loose style.
Yeah.
And
It's hard to play well. You have to be an incredibly good player.
You really do. Whereas if you're playing a tight style, it's much, much easier to know when your aces are good and when your aces are not good. It's very, very hard to know when your middle pair with a jack kicker is good and when it isn't.
Yeah, it's good to know that the basics are very important.
Cara, people don't believe it. This is the thing. People want, because bluffing's exciting, because of TV and people playing random cards, and also just because of the human thing of, you know, looking for special things.
Yeah.
People don't believe it, but straightforward ABC poker, playing your good cards, folding your bad cards, playing aggressively when you play but not playing very often, will get you the money in most poker games.
Well, I can testify to that, because that is what you've taught me, and it does seem to be bearing fruit.
It will actually get you the money right up to quite high poker games, yeah. You can play in poker games at a level where you can make a living and just do that.
Wow.
There's no question about that. And people won't believe it. They still want to do fancy stuff.
Wow. Wow.
And that's why tournaments are popular, because you can do a lot of fancy stuff in tournaments and you can get lucky and get away with it.
True, because in cash games, as we've said,
it's
it
harder.
tends to be,
it's harder. And in a cash game, if you're making a lot of bluffs and everyone else is playing solid, you'll probably lose, because a good solid player will pick up on what you're doing and he will call you down.
When they've got a good hand.
When they've got a good hand. So yeah, that is the way it goes. This is a very interesting tournament. Oh, Hoofy, look at Hoofy with the big move with the 10-5. Well, he's got a lot of heart, Hoofy. That's not, I wasn't even trying to be a pun. Didn't even realise what I was saying. But he has, he's got a lot of poker heart, and he made the big move there with the 10-5. If it goes wrong, he's out. But it didn't, he picks up the blinds.
Well, the next player out is going to take home $100 as compared to $140. And I know, considering that this is really a qualifier for the final here in the studio, that that's not as important, but it still plays a part.
Well, it's good that they get a bit of a reward. I mean, you know, without, obviously it's on our show, so I'm not going to say it's rubbish, but in all seriousness, it is a great promotion, this, because these players do get a bit of reward for their efforts. For free.
Yeah, for free, which is a good thing to recognise. This is a free roll.
Ace king, big hand, four-handed, obviously. Big hand, 10-handed, but four-handed, very big. And made a huge raise with it, Gold Bars. But Gold Bars developed a significant chip lead thanks to Taxmania bluffing off his chips to him. I think Gold Bars might call this.
Yeah.
I don't think he should, because he's still only got King 7, even though he knows Taxmania might be bluffing. I think he's made a good decision there.
Five, 8 there. He's decided in small blind to make a bit of a move and actually does flop a flush draw.
Yeah, he's starting to bully the table a little bit, Gold Bars. Thinks better of it there. And Top Cat's the one in danger. The blinds are up to 150-300 now. So Top Cat really is at emergency levels. And Gold Bars keeps picking up pots. Oh, Top Cat's got to put it in with that.
Yeah. And is anyone going to call that? Gold Bars Mike's is not a massive percentage of his stack.
No, he does. I think he's right too, for the reason that he said.
Oh.
And the 8 comes. Well, he was only about a 60-40 favourite there, and it didn't come off for him. Unlucky Top Cat.
Yeah, unlucky.
What has he won, Kara?
He takes home $100.
Nice.
Very exciting. For free. And a whole lot of fun.
A whole lot of fun. We're down to 3-handed. Gold Bars has the advantage. Hoofy's got a hand, and he moves in. And you can do worse than watch Hoofy play 3-handed if you want to see what changing gears is all about, because when he makes a move, he'll make a big decisive move. He won't mess about. Oh, well, Taxmania's got unlucky there.
Ouch.
To bust out. King came on the turn.
Yeah, bad. Outdrawn there, and we're down to 2, so Taxmania takes home $140, and these last 2 are battling it out for top prize, and the ability to come in and meet Mr. Nick Wealthall in person.
And play for their share of $8,000.
And that as well, but that, you know, less exciting.
Well, this is exciting, Kara, because we've seen Hoofy do it once tonight. Could he possibly do it again? Once again, he finds himself heads up in a situation he must win. Once again, he's out-chipped 4-1.
Come on, Hoofy.
The odds are against him. But this is a fantastic situation. What a great situation. Oh, that's horrible.
Ouch.
Hoofy's going to go broke.
Oh, no. Oh.
He doesn't go broke. Wow. Well, he dodged a real bullet. Real bullet there.
Yeah,
he had 3 6s, and he just called at the end. That's a fantastic bit of play.
Wow. Oh, and he's getting down very short-stacked. Indeed.
Well, great play.
King Queen, that's a good hand to go
Whether
on
Hoofy wins or loses, he's given us a display of some great poker tonight. He did fantastically well not to go broke in that hand with 3 6s.
Yeah.
And was very unlucky that Gold Bars picked up a full house on him.
Now the difficult thing is that Gold Bars is often going to call.
Hit. He hasn't hit.
He hasn't hit.
Unlucky Hoofy.
Oh, unlucky, and well done to the winner, to the ultimate winner, who will be coming along to the final in the studio for their share of $8,000.
Gold Bars, I look forward to meeting you. Hoofy, maximum condolences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly,
that's very difficult.
I know he didn't win, but I don't think he could have done anything more tonight to win. That's a piece of my brain. Put that back in for later.
Because you may need that.
Yeah.
You might just need that.
That's there. I thought he played great.
Absolutely.
Right to the end, actually. I didn't see him make too many mistakes, and if people want to see how to play without the cards, they could do a lot worse than watch what Hoofy did tonight.
Yeah.
It was really great. And when he didn't go broke with the 3 6 at the end, a lot of players that we see playing heads up would have gone broke.
Gosh, yeah.
He gave himself a chance to win the tournament by passing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So well played, Hoofy, and well played, Gold Bars, who was the winner.
Yeah, well done, both of you. It's always good to see a bit of a struggle there at the end rather than just one player taking the other down very quickly.
Yeah, our highlight of the night was probably the heads-up battle earlier, though, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
I
The
think so.
semi-final. That was a great battle.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it. I'm going to have to watch it on the replay tomorrow. Just to see, because I was obviously playing the Beat the Presenter, so, you know.
Yeah.
I came in second too, Hoofy. Here we go, we've got an email from Balrog UK, who wrote in reference to this exact thing. He says, good morning, Kara and Nick. Well, good morning to you as well, Balrog. Says, good game of Beat the Presenter, Kara the Hustling Shark. Thank you. Thank you very much. You still think I hustle a little bit. I don't. I just play the best I can.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I have no idea what the cards mean. Right, just to say, I watched the shootout final table live tonight and was obviously cheering Hoofy on. I can imagine. We were here as well, I'm sure you heard. Wanted to say that while poker is possibly a very selfish game, the time I've spent playing with the regulars on the TV tables has seen the building up of a brotherly, sisterly little support group type thingy. I agree, and it's very true, and it's really quite heartwarming to watch, actually. He says, watching Hoof in that shootout, knowing he'd be someone I'd pick to play a sit-and-go on my behalf with if I had to pick someone, I found almost as exciting were I in it myself. It's great to see people you think of as good players doing so well, and unfortunately feel as gutted as he must have been when the final board of cards turned without helping. Well done, Hoof. Good to watch. Another go next week, I hope. And that's Steve, a.k.a. Balrog UK. And it's really nice when they kind of, you know, G each other up a bit.
It's nice. The thing about Hoofy in the semi-final and the final is that he did the same thing twice, which is he played reasonably tightly until he needed to change gears, and then he did. And I don't know if this is your philosophy, Hoofy, so I'm not speaking for you, but what I try and do when I'm at a final table playing sit and go, is to try and get down to the last two players. Personally, I don't worry too much about how many chips I've got, because in the heads up, as Hoofy showed earlier, you can turn around a chip deficit. The important thing is to get there. That's your mission when you sit down, because the heads up's quite random, and you can overturn, if you're in chip deficit, you can overturn it. Hoofy did that both times. The first time he won, second time he lost, which is unfortunate, but you can't do that much more than that. You know?
Yeah.
You can't do much more than Hoofy did tonight. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for him at the end, but them's the breaks.
Yeah, you won 2 tournaments and came second in the third.
Yeah.
Played pretty much all night. So well done. I'm sure you must be exhausted by this point, and hopefully not feeling too wounded.
Mustn't give too much credit to losers. The bottom line is Gold Bars 1, so credit to Gold Bars 2.
Gold Bars.
They both did great.
No, they both did great. Thanks very much for the entertainment as well.
As we said, with the shootout, everyone on the final table's done well because they've won 2 tournaments in a row, which is tough.
Very difficult to do. Cool. Well, shall we see another cash game? Shall we finish the night off with a little bit of cash?
All right.
If we have to, yeah? All
right.
I
love it. Whatever. It's all good, isn't it?
I like
it's
a
all
bit
poker,
of cash game.
Isn't it?
Yeah, bit of cash game. It's coming. Just you wait. There it is.
So it's our 25, 50-cent cash. And just one more time for the cheap seats. The most you can put down on this table is $50. If there are players over $50, they are in profit for this buy, and they may not necessarily be in profit for the whole night. But as far as we can tell, they are.
Numero has hit the top, has hit a pair. Another Mininger has a flush draw, which doesn't come. And Numero wins that pot.
Does he? Very confident, Kara.
I'm thinking.
He might get bluffed.
Oh, he might get bluffed. You're right. He might get bluffed.
If you're going to make a bluff like this, do it quickly. Don't.
Don't think about it.
It looks really obvious.
But there might be someone like me who just does find it difficult with the hand-eye coordination to make the, to do that on the computer.
Sure. Yeah, well, it's interesting that, because if people take time to make a decision online, it can be a tell.
Yeah.
As I think I've mentioned before on the show, it often, particularly heads up, by the way, if they play heads up match.
So be quick.
Because people make their decisions quickly heads up.
Yeah.
So when you see somebody think about it and then bet, that's a very good tell. It's as good a tell as you'll get online that somebody's bluffing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All of that comes with the health warning that there are plenty of reasons why somebody might take time online which has nothing to do with their hand. So they might be multi-tabling, they might be browsing the internet and have forgotten it's their turn, something might have come on the TV, you know, they might be messing about with a slider and not be able to get the right amount in.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a health warning. It doesn't always hold true, it's not 100%. But in terms of just playing, it is a tell, and it can be a tell live as well, which is that if you think about it, break it down. If you've got a good hand, you don't have to think about it too much.
Break it down.
Break it down. If you've got a good hand, you don't have to think about it too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a bad hand and you might bluff, well, that's a decision you have to think about because there's so much more risk involved than if you've got a good hand. So if people take more thinking time, they are usually, not always of course, but they are usually thinking about whether or not to bluff.
Okay.
And I found, and you can apply this next time you play, it's particularly true heads up, because heads up decisions are made much quicker.
Okay.
And heads up actually can only be quite a short interval of time, because it's still made relatively quickly, because they get into rhythm, make fast decisions, but it's a noticeable difference.
Okay. Well, in our last few minutes here, I'm going to read you another email.
Lovely.
One more of our lovely viewers at home has just asked for your advice. And he says, this is from DVN1, Hi Poker Night Live pros. I always hear on Poker Night Live how bad beats even themselves out. But are some people just simply more lucky than others?
Right, book about this, aren't I?
I know, I was just thinking that. Isn't this funny? I look at the hands I win and lose and only usually go all in when I'm very sure I'm ahead. Thus, I usually suffer more bad beats as I try not to put myself in a position where I need to get lucky. When I get bad beats, it usually costs me a sit-and-go life. Is this due to my tight, aggressive style? Many thanks, Nick and Cara.
Yes, it is.
Quickly done.
Yes, it is. He already knows this, he just wants confirmation. You're right, DVM1 it is. Bobby Baldwin, world champion 1978, who went on to be very prominent in the hotel industry, and I think is currently the chief executive officer of the Bellagio. I think he said this most famously, which is he said outdraws are an illusion. Bad beats are an illusion. Because if you're a good poker player, when the money goes in, you're going to have the best of it, right?
Right.
The DVN's one is right. If he's got a tight, aggressive style, he's only playing when he's got a good hand.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if you're a better player than your opponents, when the cards are turned over, you'll have the best hand. So who's more likely to suffer a bad beat? It's good players, not bad players.
That's a very good point.
It doesn't mean you're more unlucky. It just means you're in a situation more times where you can be outdrawn.
Yeah.
So this is why us good players, and I include myself, Cara Scott, and all of the Poker Night Live viewers, those of us that are trying to play right, that are trying to play our good hands, that's why we suffer more bad beats, because we're in a position to suffer more bad beats.
You know, it's funny because I've never actually thought of it like that before, but you're absolutely right. If you're throwing your money in and your chips in with just any old thing, then you can't really call it a bad beat when someone else beats you.
You're relying on outdrawing people.
Yeah, and that's...
Whereas the only time we lose is when we're outdrawn.
Yeah. So that's not bad. It's actually a good sign. If you have bad beats, it means you're actually playing quite tight and aggressive.
It does. Well, this is a thing. It's really important to understand. A bad beat is when somebody has been successful when having a less likely chance of winning.
Right.
So in other words, they've hit the short end of the probabilities.
Right.
So, or if you want to use the common parlance, they've got lucky, right?
Right.
But if they're in that situation, they're in the worst situation. So, you know, you've put them there, so you've outplayed them. So the people that get the bad beats are the people that have outplayed the other people. And this is why good players moan about bad beats, frustrates me, because it frustrates them to get a bad beat. But it is part of your style, DVM1. I couldn't put it better myself. It's part of playing a tight, aggressive style. I was going to say this much earlier in the show, I've just got it in before the end, which was I've had two freaky hands the last 3 days, which have illustrated to me once again that if you play enough poker, you'll see everything.
Yeah.
And that good and bad beats break even, and everyone just remembers their bad beats. I've had a full house on the flop against a flush, and I lost on the river when he hit a straight flush with the one card to make him straight flush.
Oh.
So that's a 1 out, a proper bad beat, right?
Yeah.
That's me telling a bad beat story, but I'm only telling you to tell this one, which is I had a good beat story. When I had a pair of kings, overpair on the flop, the money went in, he had a set, I hit a king on the river, so I hit my 2 outer, so I drew out on him. It is part of the game, boys and girls.
That's what happens. It's poker, so you have to expect it and just learn to get on with it.
And love it, like we do.
Love the game. Now, hopefully you'll tune in again tomorrow night for more Poker Night Live, but we're going to go home now and go to bed. So all of you, good night.
God bless.